morning, everyone. I would like to call to order the Board of County Commissioners meeting of September 17th, 2018. I'd like to remind you to please silence your cell phones. At this time, I would ask you to please rise for the invocation and pledge. Madam Clerk.
Please bow your heads. O merciful Creator, your hand is open wide to satisfy the needs of every living creature. Make us thankful for your loving providence and grant that we, remembering the account that we must one day give, may be faithful stewards of your good gifts. Amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk, could you please call roll?
District 1, Commissioner Oakley. Here. District 2, Commissioner Moore.
Here.
District 3, Commissioner Starkey.
Here, and I'll be back.
District 5, Commissioner Mariano.
Here.
District 4, Chairman Wells.
Here. Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, now is the time for public comment. Citizens are given an opportunity to comment on any item coming before the board during this public comment section. The board also takes public comment on items to be placed on future board agenda or other business under their purview. Public comment for the public hearing items will be taken this afternoon beginning at 1:30. Individuals speaking during public comment will be given 3 minutes to speak. After stating your name and address for the clerk, the timer located on the podium will start a countdown. After 2 minutes, one beep will sound, and the light on the timer will change from green to yellow, letting you know that only 1 minute remains. After the time is up, two beeps will sound. The light on the timer will change from yellow to red, indicating that 3 minutes are up, and you should close your comments. We have the following items, or the following folks signed up to speak. If you could just line up. I don't know. It looks like Sharon, Donna, I can't read it, last name Perkis, and Dennis. If you could all line up and state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Sharon Ogborn, and my address is 14514 Coloma Lane, Odessa, Florida. Some of you commissioners may have spoke with me in the past. I was pretty vocal about the elevated highway back in the past with the promise that it was going to be done because T. Rowe Price was coming to Pasco County, which I alerted the county a year before it was announced that they were not coming to Pasco County. In fact, I've now learned that they're closing their Tampa office completely. So the Ridge Road extension, money that we're spending as a taxpayer concerns me that we do not have approval for this road, but we are still spending money for this road. And as a citizen and a business owner in the county, there are lots of things that this money could be used for to help our average citizen. And I am ashamed of our commissioners for not looking out for the best interests of our average citizens. Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning. I'm Donna Herrick, 15401 Cary Lane, Hudson, Florida. As you know, I've been here before, and things are just escalating from the problems we've had. One individual seems to want the whole square mile. He's putting up gates. I thought that when we had 9 residents on a road that we had legal access to the whole road, whether he owns it or not. And every time that we walk outside, if he's outside, he taunts my husband and I. The last thing was, thanks to you folks, that my backhoe and my school bus is immune, whatever that means. I know code enforcement told us 5 months ago that bus has to go, but it's still there. That's not what concerns me. It's just the way that he treats the neighborhood, and there's nothing anybody can do about it. Code enforcement says our hands are tied. Police come out, their hands are tied. Mr. Mariano's been out there since we've lived there, and I understand the former owners, and she's very adamant that he killed her husband because after he had dementia, this guy just taunted him constantly. And everybody I ask, I can't give you legal advice. So I don't know who else to turn to from now on. But 3 neighbors have moved out. One's in the process of moving because of this one individual. What does it take to have him Baker acted? Because he's definitely nuts. I'm scared to death of him.
Mr. Chairman, before she goes, is there, this is like a private road, and this guy does terrorize the neighbors pretty much from everything we've heard over and over. Somehow he got this road on a private tax deed sale. Is there any way we can go back and get that road back and put it under county property, Mr. County Attorney?
Well, even if if it was a public road, if it was not accessed by easement for these residents, if it was a public road, whether or not he bought the underlying fee at a tax deed sale would not convert the road to a private road. He would own the underlying fee, just like in a dedication you would own to the center of the road. There's underlying ownership. But if it's, I'd have to look at the easements that were granted. If it was at one point a public road, it still is a public road, whether or not he owns a tax deed underlying it.
Do you know if it was a private road before or was it a public road before?
I understand it was up for taxes maybe 15 years ago when the former owner first moved in, because they said they could have taken it over. But then he started back then. He said, if you take it over and anybody gets hurt on here, he said, you're responsible. They could sue you for everything you own,
Right.
which,
Mr. Chairman,
Let me-
could we get Micah to get with her and also get the sheriff's office involved in this and let them both go out there? Because sometimes the sheriff's office working alongside our
Mike has
code
been
enforcement.
involved with it for the last 5 months. He's talked to me after every meeting.
Well,
So
I
has
want to get
Mr.
it more
Briggs.
serious than they've been. So I've done this over in East Pasco area, and it's working. And I think we need to try that.
All right, and
Let's
maybe
try
get-
that one more time and see if we can work, so.
Commissioner Oakley, thank you. And I think maybe if we get our county attorney's office with it as well, let's put our heads together and find a solution to this. They shouldn't have to go
We
through
need to,
this.
they don't need to be taunted by another neighbor, that they're here to live a peaceful life here in Pasco County, and we need to make sure they do have that, so.
All right, Mr. Rosenthal will
Thank you.
talk with you.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Angelica Perkis. I live at 9410 Adler Street in Newport Richey, 34654. I made some copies of what I'm going to speak on here for each of the commissioners. Who may I give them to?
Move to receive and file.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, any opposed?
This afternoon, there will be a lot of taxpayer money given to an organization that I have some real concerns about. Millions of dollars over the next few years. I was, just as a history, doing a survey of my neighborhood. I saw this economic development plan that the county put out. And I said to myself, well, I need to also let Mr. Cronin, who is in charge of economic development, know about what is going on and what we would like to do, because they do the plans. So I did, and I maybe was a little bit snarky because I was having a hard time communicating with the county. So I got a letter back, and it said, no, I'm very confused, that he's a 501c3, and their organization helps create jobs, start businesses, and loan money. They are not involved in anything to do with redevelopment, with homelessness, poverty, or other things that I mentioned. Was a little more confused, so I looked into it, and their mission statement on guidestar.org talks about relieving poverty, reducing need for public assistance, combating deterioration of communities in the county, which to me seemed like, maybe it does do what I was asking for. He said not. So I looked on the county website, and you'll see the copy of that there too, and it says a whole different mission statement. Says to stimulate balanced and diversified growth within Pasco County, or for Pasco County. On their website, there's another definition. But as you go through, I started looking up different metropolitan areas in Florida, and they're all 501c6s, not 501c3s. The difference is that donations for C6s cannot be written off. They need taxes paid on them. So I don't know. I'm not an attorney. I just have a lot of concerns with these millions of dollars you're getting ready to give to this entity. And I want you to know I also sent it to the IRS because they know. They wrote the rules. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. Good morning, sir.
My name is Dennis Wilson. I live over on Rainbow Lane over in Port Richey. I've been here before to ask for your help in solving community problems. I get no help. I've asked for police help. I was told, you have no say-so. So I get frustrated and get less accomplished. Thanks to Mr. Mariano for taking my info and not calling me for 3 months, I got frustrated but not angry this time. I have a house on a block that has there is a house on my block that has a lot of in and out traffic all day and night. The sheriff does nothing about it. I call. No one shows up. They threaten to arrest me for wasting their time. They are constantly blocking the sidewalk, and we have disabled people with electric wheelchairs that have to ride against traffic on San Miguel because they cannot get back on the sidewalk where these people block the sidewalk. Since Pasco County will do nothing to help, because I live in a throwaway neighborhood, not a gated one, where police go around and ticket cars parked on the street, I looked up the American with Disabilities Act, because I am one. We are entitled to safe transportation, so I rode up and down San Miguel in my truck, not one wheelchair ramp on any corner. So I went down Embassy, Fox Hollow, and etc. Not one ramp. Since the people inside the box won't help us, I decided to go outside the box. So now I am going to contact the federal government because the state does nothing and y'all do nothing. So I'm not going to get mad. I'm not going to get angry. I'm going to get something done without your help because you took all my information and did nothing for me. Didn't even call me back. I called 3 days later and a lady from your office answered. Very nice lady, did not hang up on me when I got frustrated. I heeded her words. That's why I wrote this, and that's why I'm leaving now.
Thank you, sir.
So next we have Alan Rose, and then Kathy Strickland and Kelly Smith, and then Cherry Clem. Thank you.
For the record.
Have a motion to receive.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. This is a follow-up once again, but this is good. All right, the Parks Department and I have a scheduled meeting this Thursday to go over the Coastal Barrier Resource Act. The way I referenced it today was FEMA because this Coastal Barrier Resource Act, it covers a whole large area, and there are many different entities involved in it, and many different strands for funding and for whatnot. When I meet with them on Thursday, I will go over these options for them so that they can better understand how we can get something done for Pasco County. And on the agenda is, we're going to use the John Chaffee Coastal Barrier Resource System to protect Pasco County coastal residences, the harbor's West Market redevelopment in progress, and protecting our coastal natural habitat, seagrasses, fish, wildlife, and other natural resources so prominent along our coastline. The basic gains will be 3,000 acres of protected seagrass beds, revitalization of our coastal estuaries,
re-energizing our 5 coastal economic engines in place, developing over 100 acres of new beaches, preserving our coastal mangroves, and developing an additional 100 acres of mangroves. Our marine habitat and coastal estuaries will be enhanced to fully develop our scallops ecosystem and maritime conservancy, ensuring safe passage for all our transient manatee population, nesting areas for our sea turtles, and providing a resting area for migratory seabirds. These projects will provide protection for our coast, alleviate coastal flooding, and give our residents many more locations to enjoy our natural settings. And the discussion will go as follows. Are we part of the CBRA? The answer is yes, we're part of the Coastal Barrier Resource Act. How are we qualified? We are designated as an OPA, otherwise protected area. What zone are we? We are Zone 4, and there's other numbers in there. What proposed projects would they be considered hazard mitigation? The answer is yes, they are hazard mitigation. And then we have the projects. I listed them here: Robert K. Reese Memorial Park, Green Key Beach, Gulf Harbor's North and South Channels, Cross Bayou, Coatee River Channel, Miller's Bayou, Waterfront Park, Dorney Key, Lighter Bayou, Leisure Beach, Hudson Channel, Salt Springs State Park, the Barrier Island, Arapaika Channel, and Port Richey Municipal Marina. Pasco County can establish these needed improvements as an overall master plan or as one project at a time, expediting improvements as funds and assets are available. Our entire ecosystem will benefit from these forward-looking improvements. And this is just to show you, this is FEMA's Coastal Barrier Resource, and there are many others. It's under the Department of the Interior. And like I say, there's just a lot of resources available that Pasco County just didn't know existed. So I'm going to go to this meeting and bring everything to them, and hopefully we can start somewhere and get something nice done for our county.
Thank you for everything you've done, yeah, very much. Good morning.
Good morning. I'm Kathy Strickland from 8109 Mockernut Lane, Port Richey, Florida. I'm here because I don't want the Ridge Road extension to go through. Final approval for the Ridge Road extension has not been issued by the Army Corps of Engineers. This county is spending millions of taxpayer dollars for a road that the citizens do not want, and in the end, you may not get. The county said this was a $9 million project. According to your own documents, current cost projections have it at $160 million and climbing. This money would better be used for other things like improving existing roads, widening 41, and public transportation. This road would severely impact an ecological gem in Pasco County, the Serenova Tract of Starkey Wilderness Preserve. It would also impact the quality of our drinking water, as well as displace water from the wetlands to create more flooding to existing roads, homes, and businesses. The county faces being sued if this continues. Please do not approve this budget request.
Thank you very much. Good morning.
Good morning. Kelly Smith. My address is 3537 Fordingale Drive, Wesley Chapel. I'm here this morning to speak in opposition to the Ridge Road extension, just as many other citizens, the Sierra Club, and 30 additional organizations have done. The final approval for the Ridge Road extension has not been issued by the Army Corps of Engineers. The county is spending millions of taxpayer dollars for a road that your citizens do not want and in the end may not get.
Correct.
The county has said this would be a $90 million project. However, your current projections estimate the cost to be $160 million and climbing, all for a road that will severely impact the Serenova Tract, which is an ecological gem in Pasco County, and that your citizens do not want. I'm asking you to pull item C48 off the consent agenda and not to approve this item. Thank you.
Looks like we have one more person signed up, Sherry.
Nope.
Would anybody else like to speak under public comment? Okay, seeing no one, that will close public comment. The next order of business is a consent agenda. I do have a pull sheet with the following items listed. C45, pull, or, I think she wants to wait on that, Dan, doesn't she?
She would like to
Okay,
pull that and
we'll wait
discuss
on-
it when she gets back.
So pull and discuss that later, so we need to, okay. And C9, pull and revise. C12, just for discussion, Commissioner.
12, 13, yeah.
Yeah, C12, C13, and C48, pull for discussion.
Mr.
From
Chairman.
Commissioner Mariano.
12 what? 12?
C12,
12, 13.
C13, and C48.
Mr. Chairman, just for clarification, before you take a motion on the consent agenda, C6, the clean agreement which was provided to you is the correct version that the county wishes the chair to be authorized for. The red line has some issues. It doesn't exactly match the clean version, but the clean version is the version that that is proposed for the board to be adopted.
Okay, with that, do you have any other consent items need to be pulled?
Yeah, I have one, if you don't mind. C65 is here, and it's a contract. It's a change order, but it doesn't have witness attest for the contractor's signature. So maybe if you could approve it based on that witness signature. We like everything done properly.
What is it? See what?
It's C65.
Okay, can I have approval for the remaining
So moved.
consent items?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, any opposed? Okay, we'll start with, we can go in order, C9. Good morning, Andrew.
Good morning, Board. Andrew Baxter, Facilities Management Director. C9, we're pulling and revising we've updated the agenda item to ensure that the distribution section is correct. We've also distributed attachments for attachments 3 and 19, which during the SIRE process ended up as blank pages in your distribution that was published. Those are the bid tab alternates and download history. Those have been distributed. The team recommends approval with those corrections.
Any questions?
Move approval?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, C12, Commissioner.
Yeah, Andrew, I guess you'll stay right there.
Yep, I can stay here.
C12 and 13, the only thing that concerned me was it's an air conditioning contract, both 12 and 13, and we only had one bidder. I've heard other things sometimes about our air conditioning bids where we're maybe having some level of contract has to be super high and you can't seem to get it, but even still, with only one sole bidder, I don't think there's an issue there. I'd like you guys to take a look at it, bring it back to us. Did we do it right? Reach out to some of our local air conditioning people, why they didn't want to bid on it. Just to kind of like, find out why there's only one bidder on this thing.
Yeah, no problem. We had 8 vendors who searched for the solicitation, one of which was from Pasco County. The specs that we make for air conditioning contracts are very standardized nowadays. So the reasoning behind why the market didn't choose to participate in this one, I can't attribute to anything that we've done differently. It's a very similar spec. We just pretty much change out the size of the unit and the location that we're going to be placing that unit.
But I've also, sometimes licensing keeps some of them looking. I mean, a couple of smaller contractors did look at it. One looked at it, downloaded, the other one didn't download it all the way. So I'd like you to reach out to our locals to find out why they didn't bid on it, and then let's put it back out for
We
bid.
can absolutely do that if
Okay.
you do wish, sir.
Thank you.
So you wanted to put it back out for bid?
Well, let's get an explanation back, maybe next meeting, to find out what happened, and then you kind of take the input.
And I don't disagree. I mean, Eric and I have spoken this several times. We've got to do a better job of educating our local folks, because I know that there's local companies that are large enough. And the only reason I know it, I may not know them specifically, but I see them posting pictures of them having cranes, putting it on the roof of a building, so I know that there's local companies that can do it. Again, if they're not the lowest bidder, they're not within the 10%, we understand that. But when there's only one bidder, I agree with Commissioner Mariano on this one.
Okay. If that's the wish of the board, we can do that. Go ahead.
Good morning, Stacy Ziegler, Purchasing Director. Just want to let you know that we do have a vendor day coming up, October 10th, where we are going to have all the vendors come in and try to educate them on exactly this.
And, folks that aren't vendors, that aren't on the list, that's my thing, So you're talking about folks that aren't on the list, educating them on how to get on the vendor list with us?
Right, we're going to have a vendor day where we're going to talk about the local preference, what it means, how to become a local vendor, et cetera.
Okay, well, just let me know. I know we've discussed it, but if I can help with, the chambers, Rotary clubs,
Okay.
EDC,
Okay.
that way we can, the turnout's been good for them, but I would love it to be great, especially now with the local preference, it's, so.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Commissioner Moore?
And I'm in agreement too. So I don't know if you have already, but if you get with the PIO and get something out through the PIO.
We have.
You are?
We've
Okay.
written a op-ed already, and we
Okay.
have something going out for it.
Good.
Yeah.
Like Chairman Wells stated, we can get it out to, or the PI can get it out to the chambers and the Rotaries. That would be a big help too.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that.
My pleasure.
Okay, so that's C13, or C12 and C13.
Okay, thank you.
And C48, Commissioner?
Do you need a motion to continue that? Or?
Move to continue C12 and C13.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. C48?
Yeah, C48, the only problem I had with this, obviously, we want to see this thing get done and approved, whatever, but I didn't like the long time frame for them to actually do the work. I'm trying to pull the item up right now, so. Is there a way to shorten up the time frame?
We've worked to parallel track some of these items, but we wanted to add, make sure the contract extension's long enough so that we're not continually modifying the contract time extension. So I think it's 18 months in this agreement. We expect to have a decision from the Corps less than a year from now. So, that's the plan right now. And once we have the decision from the Corps, if it's a positive decision, we plan on getting the construction bids out for construction as soon as we can after that. So 12 months to decision, finish the plans, get them out on the street. Now you're at 18 months. So, award and all that stuff. So, 18 months sounds about right.
Right. If we needed to push it, does this item, the way we've got it structured, slow us down from pushing to get it done sooner
No,
as
sir.
opposed to later?
No, sir. In fact, we've set this up to work several of these tasks in parallel so that if we, if we get through the
Move it
review
quicker.
quicker,
Okay.
we can move quicker. So,
Okay. Move approval?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Dan. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Good to have an engineer on board.
Yeah. Okay,
and Commissioner Starkey wanted to discuss 45 when she gets back.
Okay.
She's in a Tampa Bay Water conference call.
now we will move,
C65?
oh, C65, yes, ma'am, I apologize about that.
Okay, and I apologize, I didn't see it before, but going through this paperwork, there's no signature for a witness of the contractor's signature for change order number 1, which is on Timber Oaks Golf Course. And we prefer, well, we have to have a signature, a witness of the contractor's signature. So
Chair.
I would ask that, go ahead.
Well, unless the clerk has a concern with the form of the change order, I would ask that the board authorize the change order and have the contractor re-execute it so that we don't lose the 2 weeks to the next board meeting.
We're in agreement with that.
So move.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Now we'll move to the regular agenda item. Okay, we'll start with item R1.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members. Ralph Lair, Government Affairs Officer for Pasco. Today I'm bringing before you the state legislative agenda for 2019. I sent that to you all for approval. Give you a chance, sent it out last week, give you a chance to look over it, see if you wanted to make any changes. If not, then maybe we could set the priorities today and move forward. So, take any concerns?
No, Mr. Chairman. My assumption is you probably met with all the commissioners and
No.
no, and then we met with me.
We've met before, yeah. in
Yeah, so I
advance.
mean, yeah, so
Yeah.
we spoke about the priorities I felt we had in our district, and some others were holdovers, so thank you for all your efforts, and I think we still have a strong delegation up there. We will continue to have a strong delegation over the next few years, which can help with these, so I think we're in the right place right now. So, we're all looking forward to getting these done over the next few years.
Mr. Chairman, yeah, it is quite an extensive list. I don't know how much they're going to read and if we're being most effective with it, so I think we do need those top bullet points to be kind of handed out rather than this whole thing. I will tell you, there's two items I don't see on here that they're going through the SWIFT-MUD process, and matter of fact, one of them has actually just been approved today to kind of have one of the projects done, but up at Holiday Hills, Holiday Hills across the Gulfview Mall, we've got that project, we're going to put that pipe in, looking it through. When they did the presentation to us, they said they were going to try to incorporate Salt Springs with it. Just in case we get a bump back from SWIFT-MUD, I think we should add Salt Springs on as far as a request, so that if we do get bumped back, we can say, look, we'll go to our legislators and try to get the money that way. To those who, so everyone's familiar, many years ago, they put the Gainsborough pump in, the residents did, the county's been maintaining it, and it runs it like it's a 7.5 horsepower pump that they found actually does nothing to actually help it. It kind of takes the water up the hill and comes right back down the hill. We put a pipe in place that runs all the way to the north at the Embassy Canal, which runs all the way down, and they have only flooded once in the past 3 years now since we put it in, and that was just because we had to pump a little bit slow, but it drained out real quickly, so it's working. The drainage pump they're going to put in is going to have, the new drainage pipe they're going to put in is going to have a backflow converter, so if gravity feeds down, the water's releasing at low tide, it doesn't flow back in, which is a great plan. But when it gets around the Gulfview Mall to that big concrete canal, it goes down to a 15-inch pipe. It's the key piece to get all that water that goes out in that whole canal, never mind just with Salt Springs. So I think we need to add that on the list. The other thing that we should add on, we're working currently with Sea Pines with a major redevelopment up there. There are some things we're working right now with SWIFT-MUD to get them approved some extra parts of the project, which they didn't want to do, which may get done. But again, if it's on the list, that's right in Senator Simpson's district as well, and I'm sure he can actually, with his strong position up there, can make sure that does happen. And if it's on our list, it can show that strength to get them both approved.
Okay.
So if we add those things in there, I might be comfortable moving forward with it. But those are key additions to come up.
So add those into the regular legislative agenda, not necessarily as a priority item, because we had 10 water projects that were on there. But again, I'll get with stormwater and add those two in.
It's really a small amount of money.
Okay.
But it's very significant in the effect.
Okay.
And because we've already worked down the line with SWIFT-MUD, it may just give us the impetus to have SWIFT-MUD say, you know what, we're just going to incorporate them anyway. And the designer, I think, is going to design in the Salt Springs project anyway. I just want to put all the leverage we can to make sure we get it funded without having to face a lot of battle.
Okay.
We're still waiting on SWIFT-MUD approval.
Yes, it's all going through the process. We've had discussions on both of them, and like I said, the engineer, when he designs Holiday Hills, he's going to put that in there anyway when he presents it to us, but I just don't want to leave it to say it wasn't a priority of ours.
Okay, and I'll get with Joel Brown, he's here from SWIFT-MUD as well.
Mr. Chairman, when are you going to put the palm card out, or get the palm card printed? Are you going to do it before, because we're going up in what, March?
March, yeah, so we've got plenty of time to get that, and not really a palm card, we're going to do that like we did the trifold last year. Yeah. So I was thinking like trying to get that ready by, January, so by then I could, flush up and clean up this list that we have and add in those two into the big project list. But again,
any kind of write-up we can do beforehand, because I know I have some meetings coming up with some of our legislators.
Sure.
In the very near future. And
when would you
I would
like
love
it
to
in
start
October?
Having these conversations now.
You want it in October?
If you think you can pull it off.
I mean, if the board approves this today, we'll go back and start working on it.
Just start working on it,
Get
yeah.
that to you when we're done with it.
Yeah, it'd be great. So
I just got to figure out, I made some suggestions on possible priorities in the email. If those were the ones you want on that trifold, we can do that. If you want other items on that trifold, we'll do that. But
send it to everybody on the board for final or whatever.
Okay.
That you go about that.
It'd
be nice to have when we have those meetings.
Okay, so let's see if we can try to flush out the priorities. I gave some recommendations. If you don't want those, I can put different projects on there.
Do you have
The projects I suggested were State Road 52 segment as a possibility, Gateway Beautification Plan, Miller's Bayou Working Waterfront Enhancement, the Land Lakes Redevelopment Plan, the Homeless Service Center, temporary family housing, Hidden Lake, Zephyr Creek, Unit 3 and 4,
Right.
PHC, Berm, Boggy Creek, Buckladier.
So 41,
What?
41.
It was on there.
Gateway, yep.
Yes, sir.
So,
It was
no,
on there.
hey, if that's on there, I'm happy, man.
And the one that everybody really wanted on their water project was multiple commissioners, Hidden Lake is on there, and that is a SWIFT MUD-funded project
Right.
for the 2019-2020.
Yeah, it's pretty good highlights.
Again, do you want any others or any of those removed and put anything else as priority?
We can't have, like you said, we can't have too many on there. That's priority, so.
I can take some off, and then we could put those.
I'm not saying take off, but
Okay.
we can't really add.
Commissioner Brown?
Yeah, and the key is, I think, getting it done early. Commissioner, I think you're right on the money. We need to get this now, because when they have to start having their meetings, that's when these things are put in.
That's
By the
correct.
time we're getting up there in March,
That's
either they're
correct.
in or they're not.
Yeah.
At the last MPO meeting we had, we took the US 19 underpass and made it a top priority. I think that should be on the list as well.
Isn't that part of, that's the.
The
Lower
Lower
Bayou?
Bayou
The
thing.
Bayou, yes,
Yeah.
sir, it's there.
That's on there.
So Marine Parkway, is that part of it as well, coming up? We've got.
No, sir, that is not, because this was done before that MPO meeting on
Okay.
Thursday. So if you want to add the Marine Park, the pedestrian overpass at US 19 and Marine, then we can add that. But
Okay.
this was completed before that MPO meeting, and we haven't added that in there yet. So that's kind of, if the board wants us to add it, we can add that.
I think we should add that, and I think we should also add in the Starkey Gap as well, unless, at least get them on the list so that we can have attention to it.
So That, and
They're
that
on the
would, that
list,
would be
it's
the
just
trail
what's gonna be
overpass
highlighted.
at 54 and Starkey Boulevard?
Yes.
Okay.
Again, that was moved up in the MPO as well, so
Right.
I think just having those things on the list, they can talk about it, and then someone could pull it and go.
And Ralph, we don't necessarily have the water projects in any one order, because I know if we did, we should base them off of, amount of houses that are going to be
Correct.
impacted.
Yeah. No, we don't have them in any particular order.
Maybe put the ones we didn't get
Which I
last
think if
time
we
up
did
to
that,
the
it would
top.
be Hidden Lake would probably be the number one, if I recall.
I don't disagree, so, okay. Any other questions for Ralph?
So I've got two projects to add on to the priority. I'll send that back out before I go to print.
And does that-
I'll add those two water projects into the big list.
And Marine?
Yeah, that was the
That's the
MPO Marine Park and Starkey Gap were the
Okay.
two to add to the priority list.
And did you want to walk through the calendar in April?
Oh, okay, we can do that.
March?
And I also
Mr.
sent you
Chairman?
the calendar.
Ralph,
Yeah.
one more thing, just before we go. I know the county did a great job getting in the state revolving fund request for the F2A plant on Ranch Road. That has been in. Representative Mariano made the call. Her assistant's going to follow up on it today, so it's going through the process. Do you think we need to add that, or are we fine just the way that's going right now?
Yeah.
I mean, we already
That's
said we
state
want to.
revolving fund, not necessarily a legislative
Right.
ask.
It's not a legislative
Let it
ask.
be? Okay.
So long as the revolving fund is funded, I would.
Right.
Right.
We're going to compete.
That's correct.
How we compete.
Okay.
Right,
All right, we'll leave it at that. Thank you.
correct.
So as you saw on the legislative planning calendar that I put out, shooting for March, and actually picked a hotel and secured some rooms. So we've gotten that with your staff if you're okay with that. It's before the spring break. So we're looking at March 13th as being our Pasco Legislative Day. Travel up the day before the 13th, on the 12th, after the BCC meeting, which will be in Dade City. Return back on Thursday, the 14th, would be the plan. Prior to that, I've included all the FAC and NACO meetings on here. I know that you and Commissioner Starkey both serve on committees. The thought process was not to overlap and do meetings up in either Washington or Tallahassee on those same dates, so we can attend and actually partake in the conferences. I didn't know if there was anything specific you all wanted to see, but again, I've laid out the whole calendar going all the way up to 2020 with the FAC and the NACO conferences on there. The other thought process that we talked about was Washington. Normally in the past, we've done a piggyback on the NACO. Again, not to do that. NACO will be meeting the first week of March, March 2nd through the 6th. Instead of going up there, we really don't have any meetings that we need to set up at this point in time just go to the conference as planned, the two commissioners that sit on that and anyone else who would like to participate, but that we don't plan a meeting this year. Maybe do it something separate as needed, if you're okay with that.
Well, I guess it depends on where we're at with everything.
That's
When- you know
correct.
what I mean, so.
Yeah, I think
We had some good
we
meetings
will,
last year.
we will set,
Or this
we will probably set up a separate day to get up there and do that. But we didn't want to overlap that with the conference.
No, it
where
does make it
both those commissioners are in, I mean, they're both on different committees and stuff like that, and so we'd end up conflicting with that anyway. So we wanted to avoid that conflict.
And since we're talking about Washington, getting prepared to start talking with our federal lobbyists to start putting together our legislative agenda, our federal agenda for next year. So if you have anything, any thoughts or ideas that we need to look out for from Washington?
Well, we just need to follow up with them on, I know we talked about for the fishing
Yes.
game, maybe flying up there to discuss
Yes.
reseeding and so forth for Pasco and the coastline and the dredging and different things like that.
You got it?
Commissioner?
Yes, I was on a policy, I'm on a policy committee with NACO, with Florida Association of Counties, and we had a meeting by phone the other day, and I told them about the list that we were putting together. They wanted to get, if we had any statewide agendas and issues. So some of the things in there may be statewide that could be affected. I think the Covanta plant, this would be one issue. There may be some other things in there. If you want to dissect out the ones you think would be applicable that FAC would pick up for us and carry, they want me to submit them to them, so.
Another one, the sinkhole project, that renters notify
Right.
that there's been a
Right.
previous
Yeah.
sinkhole. That would probably be one I think the FAC should pick up immediately. I'm going to that conference as well. I thought, I would submit that as well to them with some other discussions they were having on insurance.
Maybe the next day or two before
We'll
this
shoot that
conference
to you.
starts, they'll take the information. If they like it, they'll kind of like dissect it real quick,
Yes.
and they'll bring it forward for us. So at the meeting, it'll already be there in print form.
Got it.
Okay, thank you, sir.
That's
So
good.
can we approve?
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you, Ralph. R2. Morning, Bob.
Morning, Mr. Chairman. Bob Gorig, Pasco County Budget Director. This is an informational meeting to review with the board changes to the budget since the September 4th first budget hearing on the preliminary budget. As you can see, there was only one change to the budget. The tentative budget or the preliminary budget included a bond revenue for capital improvements to the water and sewer fund. After some discussion, we felt it wasn't prudent to include revenue in the budget, which we weren't sure if and when we were going to receive those revenues. And so we took those revenues and those capital projects out of the budget. And what we would plan on doing then would be come back to the board once we receive those revenues and bring an amendment to the board at that time with those revenues, and then outlining the projects that revenue bond would fund. You can see when we took that revenue and those projects out of the budget, that did reduce. As you can see, the bottom line, it reduced the overall budget by $25 million. And as you can see here, if we look at the comparison of the fiscal year 18 budget with the fiscal year 19 budget, you'll notice that this fiscal year 19 budget is 4% less than the fiscal year 2018 budget. We did manage to balance the budgets with no increases in property tax revenues. You'll notice the operating budgets have increased by about 15%. The reason for that was because of the increase in retirement, employee retirement, health care, a number of business plan initiatives, and so on. The capital decreased slightly because we had several large capital projects in fiscal year 18. And then debt service, you'll notice that increased by about 7.5%. The biggest driver for that was the Wiregrass Sports Complex debt service in fiscal year 18. That debt service was interest only, and in fiscal year 19, that increased interest and principal. And then the reserves, you'll notice, decreased by almost 20%, because in the stormwater and transportation funds, we have been accumulating reserves so that we can now, in fiscal year 19, fund a lot of capital projects in those two funds.
Right.
With that, Mr. Chair, that's all I had. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions for Bob? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
We need approval, we need approval.
Move approval.
Second. It says approve on it. Do we need approval, Dan?
This would be approval of, this is what they're going to bring back to you at public hearing tonight.
Right. Come on, come on.
Do we have a second? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Any opposed? Okay, R3.
Good morning, Margaret Smith, County Engineer, here to talk about R3, which is the route study for the extension of the Old Pasco Road to the north to Ossie Murphy Road to the east under I-75. So we looked at two different alternatives here, one east and one west. We looked at these for a safety, cost, environmental impacts, and also how it fits into our planning program. In this case, alternative, our eastern alternative came out far ahead in cost and minimized impact. And so for that reason, and I have a bunch of slides here that you can go through at your leisure, but we've talked to each of you. For that reason, we have selected the eastern alignment because it is shorter and it is a little bit less costly and it has minimizes impacts to the environment. And also in that study, with the same elements, same criteria discussed, we selected ponds A23 and BC22 as the ponds for this project. We also had a public involvement stage here, which was on July 11th in San Antonio. So with that, our recommendation is the eastern alignment. Are there any questions?
Mr. Mariano?
Yeah, it was funny, Mark, when I saw one of the slides, different from what I thought I saw on my agenda, I was very pleased to see that the first slide that you had with the yellow line was going through, kind of clipping the buildings. We talked about it, you modified it, so now it doesn't clip any buildings at all, so.
Right.
Great job, great job doing that.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, just one thing. When we get to the construction phase, it'd be great if it could coincide with the widening of the remainder of Old Pasco Road. Think about cost savings when we put out to bid, so
Yes,
maybe
sir.
we can look at coinciding those. Or make them as a whole bid package.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, I got a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. Okay, now we'll move on to old business, starting with Commissioner Oakley.
This morning, I represented each of you at the groundbreaking for station number 38 there in Watergrass. That's a Crown Development, Watergrass is part of Crown Development Group. And Chief Cason wanted to make sure that he surely appreciated all of our support for that station. That's a new modern station. It's a 4-bay station, and it's 10,800 square feet. And I think they have, per shift, they'll have 6 firefighters per shift on that station. It's also, not only will it hold firefighters, EMS, and also be prepared to handle additional personnel in case of a hurricane or some natural issue in that area, that they can report out on the roads, clearing those roads and getting them ready in that community. So it's a great station coming on board. It's the newest station in that area since 2009. So, and that's a growing community. It's Watergrass, Connected City, all that's right in that same community. So it's there for better service of that community. So, but I wanted to thank each and every one of y'all for your support. That's all I've got.
Ready?
Mr. Moore?
Thank you. Briefly, I just want to thank staff again for the signal at Grand Oaks and Wesley Chapel Boulevard. We've been waiting for that for a while, but the great thing about it is initially, when I started meeting with the residents and with staff, it was going to not be built until the road was widened, but they noticed, and we noticed, that there was obviously safety concerns at that location, so that signal is up and going now. So they're citizens are really, really excited about it. And again, I just want to thank staff for all your efforts in making sure, yeah, it's just.
Just started.
Mhm.
Good.
Yeah, so that's live and well now. So, thank you. That's it.
Okay, perfect. Commissioner Mariano?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Had a real good meeting the other night with the citizens of Gulf Highlands. They are very, very appreciative of all the great flood work we did out there to kind of keep them flooding out. And the one concern is that where the F2A plant is on Ranch Road, that we do take that over. They were thrilled that we put the application in with the state revolving fund. Really anxious to see that happen. Had great talk about, converting those ponds that are just kind of flooding over, the sewage water gets into the streets, et cetera. They can't wait to see even a park go in there. That's kind of like softened up a bit because some of the people were a little concerned about it. And then one of the things that came up again, as we heard from the other day, was a Johnson Road. So I drove down. That does connect, and it's very important for staff to pay attention to. That road connects from US 19 all the way to Zimmerman. It may be what they call collector status, that we can actually give them a break on the pricing of it. So I would like to see that thing come as quick as it can. And there's another road beside it that's called Rampart that didn't get included years ago in another paving assessment, so have them study that issue as well. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Dan?
Yes, sir. I just have a couple things. One, I think they're wrapping up the phone call right now. She should be back in here about 5-10 minutes.
We'll be done.
We'll be done. Yeah. We'll catch up in the afternoon.
All right. I don't have the full details yet, but I'd like the board to, as you know, the red tide hadn't reached us yet, but it's just south of us. We have been included. Just got it. We have, though, been included in the state red tide DEP grant application that they lumped us all in, and so we got that this morning. If I could so ask, if the board would allow me to execute that upon review. I need to review it, my staff needs to review it, county attorney needs to review it, and clerk needs to review it. But if you could authorize that way we don't have to wait until the meeting in October to get you to approve that. So,
Did everybody hear that? Okay. Do I have a second?
Second. Yeah. Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Thanks, Dan.
thank you.
What else do you have?
And just as a reminder, next week is a workshop where we'll be going over the mobility fees as part of the task force that y'all put together, and they will be bringing their report to you on where that is as we lead into the update to that. So that's the final thing. I think I took long enough to.
talking about me, so I came back in.
So
we're done.
We're done.
And I think that's all I have today.
Go to Jeff.
Are we on Commissioner
Go to Jeff first.
Stein Snyder?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I have a walk-on, so if you could move the emergency, please.
Move the emergency. Move the emergency.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Apologize for bringing this on at the last minute, but this is a settlement agreement between Plantation Palms Homeowners Association and Pasco County. In 2017, the HOA filed suit against the county seeking an injunction to compel the county to maintain the ditch that runs through that project. The county's position was that the individual home builders were responsible for stabilizing each lot before they built along the ditch, and to the extent that anyone other than the home builders, the homeowners association would be responsible. After mediating the issue, it became apparent that the homeowners association, there are homes which are very close to the edge of this. This is a large conveyance ditch, and it is in the process. It needs to be stabilized. The homeowners association is probably not capable of doing this themselves. We have proposed an engineering solution which the homeowners association supports. They also support the creation of an MSBU for the purpose of paying for the ditch stabilization. So we bring forward this settlement agreement where we would do the work, upfront the costs, but then bill the residents for the cost of stabilizing the drainage canal that runs through the project. I would ask you to approve the proposed settlement agreement and authorize the chairman to execute the settlement agreement as is outlined in the recommended board action. And before taking that motion, ask if there is any public comment on the settlement agreement.
Any questions for Joe?
I just want to put a surety to it. I looked at the numbers, and maybe the numbers are good, maybe they're not. I mean, on two different sides, they come out to where they think the numbers are close together, but I do just want to make sure we do advertise this bid to a lot of our folks out there to make sure that if we have anyone who can bid on it that may put a lower price than what they got on there to save the residents money, I think it'd be worthwhile to do so.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman.
Well, this would have to go out for public procurement to do the project.
Right. I just want to make sure people that we would normally not do this type of project, but there's a big wall that's going to be built. So I want to make sure that the people who may not be on the bid net system, that they hear about it, that if there's interest out there to get it done.
Right.
Commissioner
No,
Moore?
thanks. Listen, the county worked very closely, and they have great folks at the HOA at Plantation Palms, so it's a no-brainer. They actually have a situation where they have some fees they're already paying. They're going to shift those over to cover the MSBU. So they're going to lower their HOA fees that they already have for maintenance, so it's a wash for the residents.
Oh, beautiful.
Pretty much, I think, right around there. So it's, but the HOA's been excellent, and yeah, I've been out there many a times, and unfortunately, this ditch is where it's receding. It's right on the edge of some of these homes. So I'm happy we're out there. I'm happy we're taking care of it, and again, this is in total agreement with the HOA and the residents. So with that, move approval.
Hang on, we don't see it. This is would anybody from the public like to speak on this item?
I already did.
Seeing none, when it's back to the board.
Move for approval?
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay.
That's it. Thank you.
So I just want to say that today is the 231st anniversary of the signing of the Constitution. Happy Constitution Day, everyone. And I do have two walk-on resolutions. You want me to say them now or during resolution?
Say them now. Go ahead.
Okay, I do have two. Emergency walk-ons, I'm sorry.
Move
Okay.
for mercy.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you. One is Resolution Number 18282 by title only, a resolution by the Board of County Commissioners of Pasco County, Florida, expressing appreciation to Lenore F. Korb, Deputy Clerk for the Office of the Clerk and Controller, for her 12 years of outstanding service to Pasco County. Done and resolved in regular session with the quorum present and voting this 17th day of September 2018, signed by the Board.
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Thank you. The next one is kind of sad. Resolution number 18283, a resolution by the Board of County Commissioners of Pasco County, Florida, expressing appreciation to Connie M. Schroeder, Deputy Clerk for the Office of the Clerk and Controller, for her 25 years of outstanding service to Pasco County, done and resolved in regular session with the quorum present and voting the 17th day of September 2018, signed by the Board.
Move approval.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
As you know, Connie has been at board meetings for those 25 years, so she has avoided us for the last few months to avoid, I think, some of the, thank you, but we do appreciate her services very much, and we'll miss her. Thank you very much, and happy Constitution Day.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Commissioner Starkey.
So you pulled C-45?
Yes.
And I just wanted to say I've been in discussions with staff, but as you know, the Orange Belt Trail crosses the county on the old Orange Belt Railroad line and intersects with 52 somewhere around Old Pasco Road. And then, and I just want to be sure that staff is working with DOT to make sure that there's some kind of planning done, even though we don't have the route study done yet. Just want to make sure that there's discussions going on as we're spending the money on 52 and Old Pasco Road, that there's some thought for safe safe access for the trail to get from one side of the road to the other.
Yes, Commissioner, we are working with DOT on that.
Okay, so that's it. Move for approval?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion
Then,
carries.
what is this? This John Chafee Coastal Barrier Resource System?
He spoke earlier.
Okay. I'm sorry I had to miss the first hour, but I was on a very important call with the Executive Committee of Tampa Bay Water, and we were successful in getting Pasco County's voice heard, and it will benefit our citizens to do a rewrite of our memorandum that we're working on. So just wanted the administrator to know that that went well for us. So, and I really don't have anything else.
You sure?
I can't think of anything right now. I do want to say this. I was out at the sandbar. I was out on the sandbar Saturday in low tide, and it's really gone. Is there anything we can do?
Well, the hurricane's what brought it.
No-
The hurricane's taken it away, so yeah.
I think in 6 months we won't have a sandbar anymore. It's very sad.
I have something else. I would like to say, reach out and thank Margaret and her team that have come through with a lot of these lights lately that we're seeing come about in the different areas. Mr. Moore, he mentioned a couple there a while ago, and I've had, I think there's 2 or 3 of them going up in my area. With the growth we're having, the places that you used to could just casually turn and move traffic, you can't do it anymore. It just doesn't happen without these lights, and they're very important. And it's hard to realize how important it is to all of our citizens to be able to move through an intersection with ease with the lights that they're putting up. So they're doing a great job, and I appreciate everything they're doing, getting them on and started the right way.
Mr. Chairman? Well, Commissioner Starkey brought up a really good point about the Enclosed Island, whatever. At the Restore Committee that we're at, we're looking at bringing a project back before the commission, which has been studied, looked at Bailey's Bluff. And I'm wondering if maybe if we could take those dredged spoils and put them out on the sandbar itself, and maybe even incorporate more of that with the other dredging in that area going up and down.
Yeah, and I wonder if that passageway between the sandbar and the island is going to close.
No, it's it's still deep right there.
It is still deep, but it's getting narrower and narrower. But I would, I would like that to be considered, so.
Okay. Well, that's something we can discuss. I don't disagree. I mean, it'd be nice if we actually owned the sandbar, but it's just a.
You said the hurricanes brought
I
it
mean,
there, and
hurricane brought it there, and I mean,
storms
it's,
taken away. Unfortunately, it's natural. It's a natural occurrence.
So I only have one thing, and I'll just bring it up now because our board meeting is going to be on the 9th. But on October 10th, as you all know, I'm the president of the Feeding Pasco Elderly Board, and we do so much for our seniors. And it's going to be the 4th annual Ambassadors Breakfast. We're honoring Rich Beckish. I know I'm buying a table. I would love to see if every commissioner could buy a table and get some folks there. It'll be at the Verizon Center at 8 a.m. No, we're not honoring you, but we have, Commissioner Oakley. So, but if you could attend, we'd appreciate it. And I know I'm going to get with the PIO folks to make sure they put it out. It's just, we raise quite a bit of money. I mean, 6 figures to help our seniors. So, and we appreciate your support in the past. So,
We need to remember, too, about the sneakers fundraiser that's going on right now, because our box in the commission chamber is empty. I think we need to decorate it and pull it out, and where more people can see it. And remember that we're collecting shoes and socks for kids in Pasco County. So
Kathy,
maybe next meeting we can all bring some.
you want to talk about that? Because we need to beat Mike Fasano and Gary Joyner and Paula. We need to make sure we have the most shoes.
We have none.
Kathy Pearson,
Our boss.
Assistant County Administrator, Public Service. This is our 3rd annual shoe and sock drive for the schools. This is our way for county to give back to our community. Last year, we about 1,150 shoes and a little over 3,000 socks. We're trying to hit 1,500 shoes. These are for middle and high school students. There's a lot for the elementary schools, and the school thought, this would be great if we can do a shoe sock drive for the middle and high schools. I will share with you a story last year that Jennifer Gobelli, one of the social service case managers, sent me about 3 days after that a gentleman was able to try out for the basketball team for one of the high schools because he had a brand new pair of shoes. So it is really very important. We have a friendly competition going on between the departments. We have a best decoration box. We also have the most shoes collected by department are going to win prizes. The trophies that has been traveling around for the last 2 years were made in our own library makerspace. So let's have fun. I know last year property appraiser Gary Joyner was really giving fits to tax collector Mike Fasano because Mike has won 2 years in a row, and Gary's insistent that he's going to win it for the constitutional officers. And if you go see his box, he's got a huge red sneaker, which is incredible what he's done for this. So please, the event is October 10th, the same morning as the Pasco Feeding Elderly. It'll be at right following 9 o'clock, and forgive me, I forgot, it used to be Ridgewood High School. What is the name of it? The technical
Wendell
school.
Crane?
Thank you. It's a technical school, so please come. It's a great, very short event, but it does a lot. So thank you all for participating in this. Thank you to the county team. They really make it possible, so thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Kathy. I'm glad you brought that up. Thank you very much. Okay, anyone else? Okay, with that, we'll adjourn for lunch break. Meeting will resume at 1:30. Thank you. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I would like to call back to order the Board of Pasco County Commissioners meeting of September 17th. Please silence your cell phones if you have not already done so. Thank you very much. Now is the time for resolutions. Madam Clerk, would you please read the first resolution?
Yes, thank you. Is there anyone here representing Manufacturing Day? If you could come forward to the podium, please. Thank you. Resolution number 18279, whereas recognizing Manufacturing Day on the first Friday of the month of October and recognizing Manufacturing Month throughout October is an effective way to expand knowledge about the value manufacturing brings to Pasco County's economy and to showcase the high-skilled, high-paid manufacturing jobs needed by the industry. And whereas Pasco County is fortunate to be the home of many great manufacturing businesses, some of which are world leaders in their respective fields. And whereas our communities, manufacturing companies are vitally important to the prosperity of Pasco County. And whereas manufacturing businesses produce and sell valuable products, building in new wealth to communities. And whereas each day hundreds of manufacturing jobs go unfilled in Pasco County because of a lack of skill. And whereas by working together with educational institutions such as Pasco Hernando State College, Career Source Pasco Hernando, and Pasco County Economic Development Council, the Board of County Commissioners and local manufacturers will begin to address the skilled labor shortage faced in Pasco County. By working together, we will connect with future generations, build the next generation of skilled manufacturing employees, take charge of the public image of manufacturing, and ensure the ongoing prosperity of the whole industry. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Board of County Commissioners of Pasco County, Florida, hereby supporting National Manufacturing Day on October 5th, 2018, and declares the month of October as Manufacturing Month in Pasco County, urges all citizens to join in recognizing the value of our manufacturers and the importance they serve within our community, done and resolved in regular session with the quorum present and voting. The 17th day of September 2018, signed by the Board.
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Welcome, and we'd love for you to say some words before I come down and give this to you.
My name is Kelly Castro, and I'm with Career Source Pasco Hernando. I'm here with Wendy Villa from Pasco Hernando State College, Tom Madano from AmSkills, and
Kiva Wiley, Director of Career and Technical Education, Pasco County Schools.
So this year for Manufacturing Day, what we're doing in order to raise awareness of manufacturing in Pasco County, we have 13 participating manufacturers who will be opening their doors to about 350 students. They will be offering tours. Each student will receive a t-shirt with all of our sponsors' names on it. They're going to do, some educating and kind of show them what manufacturing is all about and what Pasco County has to offer. Most of these students will come from our career and technical education academies in our local high schools. And the students in the middle schools and high schools that cannot participate in a physical tour are going to be offered a virtual tour, so they'll still receive some type of education as to what we have to offer in Pasco. I think that Tom's going to have some other events going on throughout the month. I don't know if you want to.
I just wanted to mention, with AM Skills, we are going to do a follow-up on October the 10th with an open house at our manufacturing skills program here in at Marchman Technical College. So for parents, when you start hearing about this, their kids going to this event, if you'd like to come out, bring your kids to that event as well, then you get to see how we can actually get them the skills that are needed.
And what time is that event starting?
It's 6 to 8 p.m. on October 10th.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, I'm going to come down and give this.
Thank you.
And we have some extra. I just saw Peter Brzezinski at lunch, but he said he couldn't make it. Here you go. Who's gonna, who wants the extra? I want to give those over to you. This is your first time in front of us, right? You're welcome. Thank you. Thanks for taking our students around us. Right up there.
R2?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, the next resolution is for Investigation Station. Is anyone here representing Investigation Station?
They've got a whole team here.
Okay, resolution number 18280. Whereas Investigation Station was started to provide interactive educational exhibits to enhance the learning experience and foster bonding between children and their caregivers, providing a local option for free hands-on learning in the community. And whereas Investigation Station's first major project was From the Sun to Pluto, a 1-mile scaled model of the solar system in the J.B. Starkey Wilderness Park, featuring beautiful original art, science-based facts, and interactive mathematical formulas. And whereas Investigation Station provided a STEM, science, technology, engineering, math, exhibit to the Pasco County Library System featuring hundreds of Kiva planks, hope I pronounced that right, Kiva, for construction, plus a wrecking ball and catapult for destruction for staff and patrons of the libraries to use. Whereas Investigation Station is now partnering with the Pasco County Parks and Recreation Department to again build a splash pad at the Veterans Memorial Park, a low-volume area of the county that attracts hundreds of children throughout the year, and to their summer camp program and pool and sports fields and gymnasium. And whereas an educational splash pad is a zero-depth, secure area with fountains and water features in which children can cool off, play, and learn. Whereas this project has been projected by Big Splash Pools and Spas, a professional commercial pool installer, to cost $327,000. Funding is needed for $106,000 in supplies needed to create a 60-foot by 60-foot splash pad, plus $12,000 for UV filtration, $8,500 for plans and permits, $16,800 to install the filtration system, and $14,225 to install the water features, plus $35,000 for the consulting, designing, coordinating, implementing, scheduling, and managing the entire project. And whereas local Pasco County businesses have already committed to donating the labor and in many cases the supplies to excavate and prepare the land, install plumbing for the fountains, install the concrete and rubberized flooring, electric wiring, pavers, and aluminum fencing. And whereas Investigation Station has held 4 relay race fundraising events to raise awareness and funds for this project. And whereas the 2018 Pot of Gold Relay Race was a partnership effort with Chasco Middle School to help their athletics department, and whereas community-minded groups like the local Rotary Clubs, the Junior Service League, the West Pasco Community Service Council, the Knights of Columbus, and KLT have donated or have committed to providing cash donations to offset the financial burden of creating this educational splash pad. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of County Commissioners of Pasco County, Florida, commending the investigation stations, board of directors, sponsors, and volunteers for their dedication to Pasco's youth and the community, and encourages citizens to support them by making a contribution of time, talent, and/or treasure. Done and resolved in regular session with the quorum present and voting the 17th day of September 2018, signed by the board.
Move approval.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Well, I want to thank the Board of County Commissioners for helping Dr. Lisa Campos get a little motivated about doing this, saying that, if we actually did it, they come up with the money, we'd actually take care of the operation of it. I think that was a big trigger to helping it go. If it did get done, what would we do? So the board, I think, showed good leadership coming forward. But Dr. Campos, this is amazing that you actually put all this together. I know, talked to Steve about it about a month ago or so, and he said how he kind of helped get with it at one point, give it some extra motivation. So if you want to talk a little bit about how your journey went, because I know it's been a couple of years now.
Sure, yes. We've been working on this program, this project for over 5 years now. And I met Steve Bourget last December, and he was installing some screening at my house, and he said that he knows a lot of people in the community and that he has the gift of gab. So I said, oh, perhaps you can help me. And he recruited so many of our local businesses to provide all kinds of help in ways that we need for our educational splash pad, the excavating, the electrician, the concrete. I mean, he's just been an invaluable volunteer and supporter to us. We're very grateful.
I greatly appreciate your great accomplishment, and board, if you'd come down, I'd like to present this to them. The best rescreening you'll ever see right here.
That's right.
Thanks for helping.
Hey, Rob, you still feel good about you? FSU?
He's picked something because of that. It's women's softball. Sorry. It's when it's women's softball starts. Yay!
I tried to avoid it, okay?
I'll get you at UCLA.
Thanks.
It was, you needed my bank account to transfer some cash into. That'll work.
He's giving away free money,
Glad you brought it up.
Hey, how's it going?
You're being quiet.
Perception.
Mr. Chair, one of the things I didn't bring up that I just mentioned to you was about the permitting fee, so we can address those when we come down the road.
Yeah, it's interesting, especially since it's on our property. You think we would, anyhow. Okay, is that, do we have it?
We have one more.
Okay.
We have another by title only, RS3, Resolution Number 18281, a resolution by the Board of County Commissioners of Pasco County, Florida, expressing appreciation of Blanca Yvette Bonilla, Deputy Clerk for the Office of the Clerk and Controller, for her 19 years of outstanding service to Pasco County. Done and resolved in regular session with the quorum present and voting the 17th day of September 2018, signed by the board.
So do we need a motion first? to hear the
No, this was
emergency?
regular. This
I thought
was
you said
not
you had, I
emergency.
thought you had a
This was
walk-on.
regular. No.
I move for approval.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. I don't have very many employees left, as you can see. Yeah. A lot are retiring. Thank you.
But you have a lot of great employees
I do. Thank you.
that are leaving and taking their places. It's, Okay. So that
That concludes
That's
the
it, right?
resolutions?
Okay, now we will proceed to public hearing agenda, starting with item P1 of ordinances. Madam Clerk, do we have proof of item P1?
We do. Tampa Bay Times, September 7th, 2018.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Paul Dean, Public Works Department. I'll read the name of the ordinance in.
12, 4, and 19.
An ordinance by the Pasco County Board of County Commissioners repealing and replacing Chapter 70 Parks and Recreation of the Pasco County Code of Ordinances, defining property to which regulations apply, eliminating Parks Advisory Board, incorporating existing procedures for trespass from property, and enforcement of regulations, defining acts and omissions that constitute violations, authorizing designated personnel to request patron leave property, designating authority to set hours, regulating meetings, group activities, and public exhibitions, prohibiting tampering with property, equipment, natural objects, animals, and environment, regulating climbing, providing parents are responsible for children, and prohibiting unattended children under 13, authorizing closure to public without notice, prohibiting use of reserved facilities, requiring proper disposal of trash and refuse, regulating fires, regulating animals, prohibiting swimming, washing, bathing, or diving except in designated areas, regulating the use of vehicles and vessels, watercraft, prohibiting flying of motorized objects, prohibiting fishing except in designated areas, prohibiting fireworks except as part of approved public display, prohibiting camping or sleeping except in designated areas, providing authority to county administrator or designee to approve sale, service, and/or use of alcohol by patrons at events, requiring vendor permit to offer, sell, or provide goods, materials, or services, regulating posting or fixing of materials to property, prohibiting glass containers, providing for applicability, repealer, severability, inclusion into the Code of Ordinances, and an effective date. All right, so as we discussed at the last board meeting, this agenda item has a few changes, or this ordinance has a few changes from the previous one. It eliminates the Parks Advisory Board in the ordinance. It provides authority to the county administrator to designate or designate to approve sale or service of alcohol at events. And it primarily just simplified and removed redundant sections. And at this time, we ask that the board accept public comment, adopt the ordinance by roll call vote, authorize the chairman's signature to the ordinance, and direct board records to transmit the ordinance to the Department of State via electronic mail within 10 days after the adoption of the ordinance.
Okay, thanks, Paul. This is a public hearing. I do not have anyone signed up for this item. If you'd like to speak on this item, please come forward. Seeing no one, it's to the board and is a roll call vote.
I would like to bring up something that I wish I'd brought up last time, but a citizen called me Sandy Graves, and there actually have been others who have talked about this, and that is for the desire to have a cultural advisory board for events that occur in the parks. And as you know, we've started lectures on the lawn over on this side, and in Land O'Lakes, they're bringing the Florida Orchestra to the Heritage Park, and I know that the east side wants to have something similar like lectures on the lawn, and the thought was that as needed, that we could pull together a cultural advisory board as well. So, any objections to that?
I mean, Mr. Chairman, I think our meeting, we had, the previous meeting where this was introduced, it was talked about that the committees and boards will come together when there's an objective, and we're looking at reforming those in the future. I think that was the discussion that was, but they need an actual, what are we talking about?
It's right here.
Purpose
The language is
There's
right
actually
here.
a
purpose and
Purpose
define.
and objective and goals.
objective and goal, and, yeah, a
But that we
purpose
could
to
bring one
something
forward with a resolution the board could approve at that
Okay.
time. So
Yeah.
that would be
That works
separate
for
from
me.
this ordinance.
Yep, that works for me.
Second your motion. Okay, it's a roll call vote.
District 1, Commissioner Oakley.
Aye.
District 2, Commissioner Moore.
Aye.
District 3, Commissioner Starkey.
Aye.
District 5, Commissioner Mariano.
Aye.
District 4, Chairman Wells.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. Item P2.
We do have proof. Tampa Bay Times, June 29th, 2018.
Good afternoon. Viviana Martinez, Planning and Development Department. Item P2 is the adoption hearing for PDD 181377, CPAL 1806 Lane Road. I'm going to begin by reading the ordinance title. This is an ordinance amending the Pasco County Comprehensive Plan, providing for a large-scale comprehensive map amendment to the future land use map from Res 3, Residential 3 dwelling units per acre, and Res 9, Residential 9 dwelling units per acre, to Res 6, Residential 6 dwelling units per acre, on 68.21 acres more or less of real property located along Allen Road, approximately 1,300 feet south of State Road 54, providing for a severability and effective date. As I mentioned, CPAL 1806 Lane Road is a proposed large-scale comprehensive plan amendment that's going from Res 3 and Res 9 to Res 6 on approximately 68 acres of property, with the intent to develop a maximum of 336 dwelling units. It is located northeast, southeast in Pasco County, approximately less than a mile away from Zephyr Hills,
I like that.
and south of State Road 54 between Allen Road and Lane Road. Some of the adjacent zoning districts include medium-density residential, some general commercial to the north, agricultural residential to the south of the property, some medium-density residential, agricultural residential, and mobile home districts to the east, as well as agricultural residential, some neighborhood commercial, general commercial, and single-family mobile home districts to the west. The future land uses surrounding the area also include Res 9, ROR, which is retail office residential to the north, some Res 3 to the south, Res 9 to the east, and Res 3 and Res 6 to the west of the property. Just to recap, as I said, this is an existing Res 3 and Res 9 future land use, and they're proposing to go to Res 6. Currently, there's a single-family dwelling unit on the property, and it's located along Allen Road, approximately 1,300 feet south of State Road 54. This is just a map showing the existing future land use. Most of the property is residential 3 dwelling units per acre, but there is a Res 9 up at the top of the property. Let me see if I can point to it. No. There it is right there. If I can't. Well, it's just located more on the west part of the property up to the north. And they're proposing to go to Res 6. The amendment would bring the subject site into uniformity with the surrounding areas. And the transportation needs assessment states that existing capacity is adequate to accommodate any future traffic with or without the future land use amendment to residential 6 dwelling units per acre. And with that, staff recommends approval and adoption of the ordinance by roll call vote.
Could you, Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Oakley.
could you pinpoint it on the map and describe exactly where it sits from 54?
Yes, one second. So go back to the general Pasco map. Yeah. So as you can see, it's southeast of.
Well, I know
Pasco.
that. Go to the next map.
This one?
Go to the next map. Yeah. And what roads we have there?
So you have State Road 54 to the north, and it's
Okay.
not too far down is the property.
Oh, and there's Lane Road right there. Okay. Yeah.
Any other questions?
Move approval.
What, we got a public hearing.
Oh, excuse me.
This is a public hearing. I do not have anyone signed up for this item. If you'd like to speak on this item, please come forward. Okay, back to you, Commissioner Oakley.
Move approval.
Second.
Okay, it's a roll call vote.
District 1, Commissioner Oakley.
Aye.
District 2, Commissioner Moore.
Aye.
District 3, Commissioner Starkey.
Aye.
District 5, Commissioner Mariano.
Aye.
District 4, Chairman Wells.
Aye. Thank you. Okay, next we will proceed with the procedures for rezonings. Mr. Snyder, please review the procedures for rezonings.
There are 2 rezoning agendas, regular and consent. Staff will present each application to the Board of County Commissioners. If staff or Planning Commission has recommended approval and there is no opposition, the application will be considered by the board without further presentation. If staff or Planning Commission has recommended denial, or if there is opposition to the application, the applicant will be given 5 minutes for presentation. The opposition will be given 3 minutes for each individual or 5 minutes for a group representative, and the applicant will be given 3 minutes for rebuttal. Any individual disagreeing with staff or Planning Commission recommendation, or anyone wishing to object to any condition of the rezoning may at this time request the petition be pulled from the consent agenda, in which case that application will be heard under the regular agenda later on during the meeting. Otherwise, all rezoning applications on the consent agenda will be approved by a single motion and vote. If you wish to speak to any petition, please give your name and address and whether or not you've been sworn for the record. These are quasi-judicial public hearings. The law in Florida is that mere public support or opposition of an application is insufficient for this board to take action. Please limit your comments to those criteria found within the board's land development code for rezoning. Thank you.
If you plan to speak this afternoon in that regard, if you could stand and raise your right hand to be sworn in. Okay, great. Thank you. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you are about to give is the truth, so help you God? Thank you. Proceed. I do have P3 public notice. Are you doing
P3 is
now?
being withdrawn.
Yes.
Okay, but for the record, Tampa Bay Times, August 24th, 2018.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Item P3 is a zoning amendment in the name of Mary A. Crosby, a change in zoning from AC Agricultural District to C2 General Commercial District. The applicant is requesting to withdraw this application from any further consideration.
Okay. P4.
P4 was advertised, in the Tampa Bay Times, June 22nd, 2018.
And for the record, Nectarios Pitos, Planning and Development Department. Item P4 is a zoning amendment in the name of Ballantrae Professional Center Owners Association, which is a change in zoning from PO1 Professional Office District to PO2 Professional Office District on the south side of State Road 54 at the intersection of Hunting Bow Circle and State Road 54. This item is being requested for a continuance to the October 9 BCC meeting at 1:30 p.m. in Dade City.
To continue time certain?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. P5, Madam Clerk.
We do have public notice in the Tampa Bay Times, August 10th, 2018.
Item P5 is a zoning amendment in the name of South Branch Crossings, MPUD, by NCJ Investment Company. The rezoning request is from AC Agricultural District and MPUD Master Plan Unit Development to MPUD Master Plan Unit Development to allow 225,000 square feet of retail and 320,000 square feet of office on approximately 28.4 acres. This item is requested for continuance to the October 23rd, 2018 BCC meeting at 1:30 p.m. in Newport Richey.
Move to continue time certain?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. P6.
Do I have publication, Tampa Bay Times, August 24th, 2018.
Item P6 is a zoning amendment in the name of James A. Winkleman and Adriana Briggs, which is a change in zoning from AR Agricultural Residential District to C2 General Commercial District. The parcel of land is located at the southwest corner of the intersection of Land Lakes Boulevard and Gator Lane. It's requested to continuance to the October 23rd, 2018 BCC meeting at 1:30 p.m. in Newport Richey.
We've gotten some emails from both the county administrator and indicating this one was being withdrawn. Is this continued or is it withdrawn?
It will eventually be withdrawn. The withdrawal will happen at the Planning Commission, is my understanding, on September 27.
They've either withdrawn the application or they haven't.
They have not yet withdrawn it.
Okay.
But it will happen by the 27th.
Okay.
Move to continue?
Time certain? Yep. Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, P7 was advertised in the Tampa Bay, oh, sorry.
Today we have 5 public hearing items on consent agenda. These items will be approved with one vote without a presentation unless there is someone here in objections. Items P7 and P11 are on the consent agenda. Madam Clerk, do we have proof for all those items?
P7 through 12? Or
P7
through 11?
through 11, yes, ma'am.
Okay, 7, 11?
Yep.
Tampa Bay, 7 was Tampa Bay Times, July 20th, 2018, and by affidavit and postings at the site. P8 was in the Tampa Bay Times, August 3rd, 2018, and by affidavit and postings at the site. P9 was advertised in the Tampa Bay Times, August 10th, 2018, and by affidavit and postings at the site. P10 was advertised in the Tampa Bay Times, August 24th, 2018, and by affidavit and postings at the site. P11 was advertised in the Tampa Bay Times, August 24th, 2018, and by affidavit and postings at the site.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll go ahead and read each of these consent items. Item P7 is a zoning amendment on consent known as Lane Road MPUD Master Plan Unit Development, Lane Road Project LLC, and Connie Weber. The rezoning request is from an AR Agricultural Residential and R3 Medium Density Single Family Detached Zoning District to an MPUD Master Plan Unit Development to allow up to 336 single family detached and attached villa dwelling units on approximately 68 acres located approximately 1,300 feet south of the intersection of State Road 54 and Allen Road.
Okay, is there anyone here who wishes to speak in opposition to this item? Seeing no one, will remain on consent.
Item P8 is a zoning amendment in the name of South Branch Ranch MPUD Master Plan Unit Development by BRS Industries. Rezoning request is from AR Agricultural Residential and MPUD Master Plan Unit Development to an MPUD Master Plan Unit Development to an already existing MPUD to allow 900 single-family detached dwelling units, 300 single-family attached dwelling units, a minimum of 500 multifamily dwelling units, 440,000 square feet of commercial, a minimum of 800,000 square feet of office, and 400 hotel rooms on approximately 719.17 acres located at the northwest corner of State Road 54 and Suncoast Parkway.
Okay, is there anyone here who wishes to speak in opposition to this item? Seeing no one, it will remain on consent.
Item P9 is a zoning amendment in the name of Epperson Connected City MP Master Plan Unit Development, Epperson CC MPUD, by Epperson Ranch LLC, Meadow Ridge Owner LLC, and Epperson North LLC. It's a rezoning request to combine one CC MPUD, which is a Connected City MPUD, and one MPUD into one CC MPUD to allow 3,628 single-family detached dwelling units, 125 of which may be age-restricted single-family detached dwelling units, 918 single-family attached dwelling units, 550 multifamily units, 292,000 square feet of retail, 577,000 square feet of office, medical, hospital, university, and 200 hotel rooms on approximately 1,951 acres. And this comes to you with approval from the Plan Commission with conditions.
Okay, is there anyone here who wishes to speak in opposition to this item? Seeing no one, it will remain on consent.
Item P10 is a zoning amendment in the name of Christine Schneider. Change in zoning from R2 Low Density Residential District and R3 Medium Density Residential District to C2 General Commercial District. This is in south central Pasco County on the east side of Land O'Lakes Boulevard, approximately 900 feet south of Swans Landing Drive. This comes to you with approval, recommendation for approval.
Okay, is there anyone here who would like to speak in opposition to this item? Seeing no one, it will remain on consent.
P11 is a conditional use permit request, which is the second part of P10, also in the name of Christine Schneider. It's for the sale of alcohol beverages, 2-cup, beer and wine, on-premises consumption in conjunction with an event center and service of alcoholic beverages in outdoor areas in a C2 General Commercial District, located in south central Pasco County on the east side of Land O'Lakes Boulevard, approximately 900 feet south of Swans Landing Drive. And this comes to you with a recommendation from the Planning Commission of approval with conditions.
Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition of this item? Seeing no one, it will remain on consent. And can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Now we will move on to regular public hearing items. Yes, ma'am. P12.
P12 was advertised in the Tampa Bay Times, August 24th, 2018.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Item P12, PDD 18 CU 38 is a conditional use permit in the name of GSD Investments LLC. The conditional use permit is requesting permission to build approximately 92 multifamily dwellings, or 96-unit multifamily dwelling within a C2 general commercial district. The parcel has a future land use designation of ROR, which is retail, office, residential, and the subject site is within the West Market area and the urban service area. The subject site is approximately 4.79 acres. This is located in northwest Pasco County within the West Market area. And this is a general location of the subject site outlined in red, which is just west of US 19 and Hudson Avenue. Hudson Avenue is a Pasco County maintained collector road. This is the subject site with regard to the surrounding zoning districts. So to the north is R1MH, as well as to the west. And to the south are various C1 and C2 zoning districts. Also to the east of the subject site is additional C2 zoning. Oops. This image is going to show you the surrounding land use within the area. As was noted earlier, the subject site is within the ROR, future land use designation. Just to the west and north is a Res 6 future land use designation. And then this is a conceptual site plan of the proposed development, which is 96 units and 4 buildings across the site. This comes to you with approval of the proposed conditional use request with some conditions associated. And that completes this presentation.
Is anyone signed up?
Yes.
Applicant's presentation first, Commissioner.
Okay.
Applicant's presentation.
So if anybody from the applicant is here.
Okay, the applicant here to speak at this time.
Thank you, Shelley Johnson. I'm the applicant's attorney, 7241 Little Road, and I have been sworn. I'll be happy to answer any questions that y'all have. We did go to Planning Commission and get a unanimous approval from them, or a recommendation of approval. They're looking to do a 96-unit multifamily housing project. We actually had at the Planning Commission, I don't know if y'all still have it, but some of the other projects that they've done, some other multifamily projects that they've actually done in Florida. So, but I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for the applicant?
I just asked one question. I actually was out with the, one of the people that own property abutting it, and they were a little concerned about fencing with the school that's there.
Yeah.
There was talk about they wanted to see a wall or something along that sort. Have you thought about what you're going to do with walls, or can you?
Yeah,
any
we looked at that at
protections?
Planning Commission, and we would have to do a wall as part of our landscape buffer. So they did look at that. I think it's, I forget what it's on that one side, but whatever it is, it ends up being, we're going to need to put a wall in. The code's going to require it, so.
So that's one of your conditions.
Yeah, it
That's
will
one
be.
you
Yeah,
can-
when we get to site plan development, yeah. The technical requirements of the code will kick in, and we'll have to do landscape buffering, yeah.
Okay, any other questions, sir? Anyone else? We have someone signed up?
It looks like Holly Fabio is signed up to speak on this issue. Anyone else that wants to address this issue, go ahead and come to the podium.
State your name and address for the record.
Holly DeFabio, 14310 Guava Street and 14306 Guava Street.
And were you sworn?
Yes, I was.
Okay, thank you.
I appreciate some of you coming to visit the property. I am just to the west side of the border there. And to the northwest, the wooded area is where we have some natural springs back in that area. And we want to make sure that those are preserved, as well as my border being my backyard and my neighbor's backyard. This property has not been maintained in the 14 years that they have owned it. So with that wall that none of us are happy about this, but it's inevitable that it's going to happen. So we are requesting a wall. I heard her mention just one side. We are definitely requesting the west side and the north side, because that would protect those springs and our backyard. Our concerns are traffic. There's already school right there next door. Traffic is crazy in the afternoons. There's flooding on Hudson Avenue just with a heavy rain. I did bring some pictures to show you that as well, as well as the overgrowth from that property into my property that's been a battle for the 10 years that I've owned it. There's kudzu vines. I don't know if any of you are familiar with that, but it's an invasive vine from Japan, and it's nearly impossible to get rid of. So if they are going to be putting a wall up, I want to be ensured that those vines will not be able to encroach over into our property again. And then, of course, to protect the springs, we would like that wall there because kids do like to hang out back there. And we're trying to, it's a new owner on that property. He's trying to clean it up. And, of course, that would create dangers for children, young children of the apartments coming in. And there's 4 natural springs on that one property. So also to the west side, 1 minute, okay. To the west side, across from my property is my mother, we've owned that house for 60 years. And the way this is laid out with their parking lot, she would have headlights shining directly into her front window. So I've provided a picture from her front window view across, and that would be basically between the 2 houses that you can see clearly in the middle there. So with parking pointing to the outer edges, we're asking that we have that privacy from headlights as well. So we hope that that wall can definitely be placed on the west and the north side. And in case you're not aware, there's an eagle's nest tower right at Hudson Avenue in that bottom left corner. And of course, we're concerned about the eagles that have been nesting there for 12 years. And we would like to see that construction doesn't interrupt their lifestyle.
Okay.
Can I leave these with you? Somebody?
You want to just pass them?
Second.
And we can give them back to
is
you?
it one copy?
Or?
It's just one copy, but you guys can keep them.
All right.
It's a few pictures
So
there.
he did a motion to receive and file. I'll second
I
it.
did.
He can-
Oh, he can.
Yeah, all those in favor say aye.
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 Okay, here. I got the motion second. Commissioner Mariano, was there have you looked at that property as far as the walls that she's talking about?
I did. I'm not sure what the code requires for wall, but if talking about the visual there, I think it's good to put a solid wall going around. I mean, they asked for a concrete wall. I don't know if we can actually make that request. I don't know if Shelley wants to address it or.
Is that part of the condition, to have that wall? I know you talked about one wall, but
It is not part of the conditions that are part of your package. It may be required based on code, but Mr. Pitos would have to answer that question.
okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think screening neighboring properties can be accomplished through landscape buffering and those measures. I'm not sure that it's necessarily required to build a solid wall across both the western property lines and the northern property line. However, a good solid screening of vegetation can accomplish the same task of keeping people from crossing property lines, but also keeping the headlight glare out of rear windows in rear yards.
Okay.
And that can be handled through site plan review during the time of the landscape plan review.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, if I could?
Yes.
In that it's a conditional use, do we have the power to actually request this and make it part of the condition?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to request then that we do that, so maybe if we get agreement with the applicant.
What's the request now, so that they can make
It
sure
would,
they
it would request that a solid wall be on the west side and the northwest side.
north and the west side? Okay.
Right?
And we're fine with that, just for the record. We have no problem with that.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions? Anyone else to speak? Public hearing?
Move approval with a noted condition?
Yeah, I'll second the conditions.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Pass. All right, Mr. Chairman.
P13. We do have proof of publication for P13, Tampa Bay Times, August 3rd, 2018, and August 22nd, 2018.
Good afternoon. Mary Duke, Long Range Planning Division. This is P13 Gulf Breeze Manor, which is a large-scale comprehensive plan amendment. The large-scale comprehensive plan amendment is proposed to amend the future land use designation of Res 12, Res 9, which is residential 9 dwelling units per gross acre, and ROR, retail office residential, to PD, planned development with sub-area policies. Letters were sent to property owners within 500 feet. And a neighborhood meeting was held on August 8, 2018, with approximately 50 participants. This was a staff-initiated comprehensive plan amendment. The proposed plan development would include commercial, office, employment center, high-density residential, retail, restaurants, bars, administrative offices, ecotourism uses, recreational, and resort uses and facilities. The maximum development potential proposed is 250,000 square feet of commercial retail and the other uses I just mentioned, and 60 dwelling units. The proposed plan development future land use classification does not increase the intensity or the density already allowed within the current Res 12, Res 9, and ROR future land use classifications. For example, if all the parcels were developed as Res 12, up to 387 dwelling units would be possible. The proposed PD only allows 60 dwelling units. If the current vacant land was developed, up to 99 dwelling units would be possible. The amendment is initiated by the Planning and Development Department to support the Harbor's redevelopment infill plan. The amendment is located within the Hudson District of the Harbor's West Market area. And the amendment will assist in the redevelopment of blighted and vacant lands, vacant parcel, including the Leisure Lane parcel, which is the old bowling alley that has been vacant for many years. The amendment will also help facilitate the redevelopment of 3 parcels and 2 flues that both have two different future land use classifications on each parcel, and will increase opportunities for redevelopment, new development within this Gulf Breeze Manor area. So if I can find the map. The amendment area is located south of Beach Boulevard, west of US 19, north of Bear Creek Canal, and east of First Isle Street. There are 15 parcels involved with this under the ownership of 14 property owners. The site is approximately 32.22 acres with about 8.23 vacant acres. The proposed planned development, it would include commercial, office, employment center, high-density residential, retail, restaurants, bars, administrative offices, ecotourism uses, recreation, resort uses and facilities, and the proposed flue is planned development. This chart depicts the zoning district's future land use designations and existing uses to the north, south, and west of the site, which I will go over in more detail. To the north, there's high-density residential. To commercial services and Beach Boulevard. To the south, there's commercial and services, open lands, and the Bear Creek Canal. To the east is US 19 arterial, commercial and services. And to the west is First Isle Street and high-density residential. So this map depicts the existing future land use of Res 12, Res 9, and ROR. The Res 9 is a very narrow strip of about 0.1 acres that's right along First Isle. It's hard to see on this map. A review of consistency with the comprehensive plan has been conducted. This project is proposed as a planned development. The intent of planned development is to provide for a variety of uses and intensities within a development site to preserve conservation areas above and beyond what the Land Development Code requires, reduce public investment in provision of services, encourage flexible and creative site design, and provide sites for schools, recreation, other public facilities that have an area-wide benefit. The general range of uses allowed within the PD FLU is listed there. And it does not want to go. I think the battery's dying on this. This map depicts the proposed FLU of PD. There are proposed sub-area policies along with this map amendment to PD. This is sub-area policy FLU 7.1.45. That is detailed in Exhibit C of the proposed ordinance in your packet. It includes the maximum development potential would be 250,000 square feet of commercial, retail, office, employment center, ecotourism, recreational resort uses and facilities, and the 60 dwelling units. The sub-area policy also further defines the types of uses allowed, including permitted uses and excluded uses. A preliminary feasibility analysis was conducted. A transportation needs assessment was not warranted. There's adequate wastewater treatment services for this development. There's sufficient capacity for potable water service for these parcels. There were no concerns expressed from police, fire, or schools assessment, and there were no significant environmental concerns identified by natural resources. Findings of fact, the proposed comprehensive plan amendments, CPAL, is consistent with the comp plan. There are no further amendments required in conjunction with the proposed amendment. Except for at the local planning agency, we did add in parcel ID 042516000000-0012. This was at the request of the property owner and approved by the local planning agency at their meeting on August 23rd, 2018. The other findings of fact are that impact fees will be collected and utilized by the county for any increased capital costs or services through this project. The recommendation is for the Board of County Commissioners to authorize transmittal of the proposed large-scale comp plan amendment, CPAL 1805 Gulf Breeze Manor, to the Department of Economic Opportunities and other reviewing agencies. If there are any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer.
Mr. Chairman, Mary Helen, you've referred to this as the project several times, but earlier in your presentation, you said there were 15 odd property owners that make up this?
It's the amendment area is how it should be referred to.
Okay. And are all the property owners within this amendment area on board?
Yes, they are. To the best of our knowledge, we did conduct a neighborhood meeting where one property owner said he wanted in and another property owner said that they wanted out. So we've accommodated those property owners.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman? I'm delighted that you've taken this step. I think we talked a long time ago. I mean, we've had issues out on this property. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it, being across from Beacon Woods. There was a homeless camp that was there. A couple of years ago, they cleared it out. It went across to the parcel to the south, which we want to take a look at that one there. I know that one landowner there is trying to look at doing something there. There's a church that actually feeds people there, and these homeless people continually on Beacon Woods Drive stay out there. I think they dramatically hurt the business talking to the people that ran the IHOP restaurant across the street. So it is a problem area. I'm glad to see something coming together with this, however it may be. We had talked initially, I think part of our conversation started with this parcel. There was a person who wanted to run a retail facility to do boats and RVs, et cetera. I don't know if they're still in the mix now, but this obviously would help them if they wanted to come forward at this point.
Correct. There is a rezoning application in progress for factory direct and marine RV sales.
Okay.
For the old Leisure Lane parcel, which that,
That's Leisure Beach.
that property has,
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, you keep saying Leisure Lane, so you confuse me. Leisure Beach.
oh, it's called Leisure Beach Bowling Alley. Okay, I'm sorry.
Bowling
Oh, it's Leisure Lane. Oh,
It is
it's-
Leisure
it
Lanes
happens,
Bowling
yeah.
Alley.
I'm getting mistaken with that other Leisure.
Yeah.
And the parcel is lied vacant. The old bowling alley's been vacant for 6 or 7 years, I believe. And we are viewing this as a major opportunity to redevelop that site. In order for them to redevelop the site the way they wanted to, there were some concessions that needed to be made. And so those have been identified through the sub-area policies with regards to buffer requirements and permitted uses.
Yeah, well, I want to give you a tremendous amount of credit for actually taking the initiative and getting 15 people together or 14 people coming together on the 15 parcels to actually make something potentially good happen. So you laid some great groundwork here.
The hope is that this, within this amendment area, at least on this one parcel, that there's potential for 60-plus jobs to be created.
Great work.
Okay, this is a public hearing. I do not have anyone signed up for this item. If you'd like to speak on this item, please come forward. Okay, seeing no one, it's back to the board.
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. P14.
Publication was in the Tampa Bay Times on August 18, 2018.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, my name is Ed Zodian. I'm with Long Range Planning. And the comprehensive plan text amendment that's before you is to remove the reference of the Development Review Committee and substitute the Planning Commission throughout the comprehensive plan where it's applicable. This is a county-initiated comprehensive plan amendment. Bear with me. It's pursuant to the 2008 Urban Land Institute recommendation to this board to redefine the role and the scope of the Development Review Committee. And if you recall, July 10th of this year, this board did vote to eliminate the Development Review Committee from the Land Development Code, and this is to conform that recommendation with the comprehensive plan. While a reference to the Development Review Committee will be, or is proposed to be eliminated, the duties and the scope are, excuse me, my Jimi Hendrix impression. The duties and the scope will be invested in the Planning Commission. Now, there are 5 items that are affected by this. As you can see, Policy Flu 2.1.7, the Development Review Committee there is being eliminated, or is being extracted, excuse me, because the Planning Commission is already involved. 2.2.3, the Development Review Committee is also being removed, and the Planning Commission is already included in that. In 7.1.13, the Planning Commission is being substituted for the Development Review Committee in this case. 4.3.2, the Development Review Committee is being eliminated, or excuse me, being extracted because the Planning Commission is already involved. And in the last, excuse me. In the, if I can get it to go backwards, there we go. I promise I am more dexterous in this typically. And in the policy Ed E 1.2.2, the Planning Commission is being inserted for the Development Review Committee. The recommendation for y'all is to approve the transmittal of this to DEO for their review as well as the other agencies, and I'm available to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions? Okay, this is a public hearing. I do not have anyone signed up for this item. If you'd like to speak on this item, please come forward.
No move approval.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. P15. Madam Clerk.
P15 had publication in the Tampa Bay Times on September 6, 2018.
Good morning, or good afternoon. Mike Carvalho, Public Infrastructure. Item P15 is a resolution for the consolidation of existing street light service areas for Bear Creek Unit 1, Unit 2, a portion of Griffin Park, Bear Creek Unit 3, Bear Creek Units 4 and 5, into a single streetlight service area to be identified as Bear Creek, as well as an increase in the annual streetlight assessment. The combination of these streetlight districts will create billing and administrative efficiencies. The increase from $35.08 to $43.95 per property is due to recovery of power company costs, which during an audit we recognized the districts were operating at a net loss, as well as a conversion to LED lighting, which will provide better lighting and more efficient costs in the long run. And with that, we recommend approval.
Questions? Okay, this is a public hearing. I do not have anyone signed up for this item. If you'd like to speak on this item, please come forward.
Seeing no one move approval, and I just want to give a compliment to Mike and his team for actually bringing these next series of streetlight things forward, for bringing it all up to square, so thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I've got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. P16.
Item P16 is a resolution for the consolidation of existing streetlight service areas of Deer Park Units 1, 1B, 1C, and 1D, as well as Deer Park Units 2A, 2B, 2C, Cypress Trace Unit 1, and Cypress Trace Unit 2 into a single streetlight service area to be identified as Deer Park Cypress Trace, as well as an increase in the annual assessment. Again, the annual assessment will be increased from $35.08 to $49.43 per property, again, to recover power company costs, as well as to convert to LED lighting, which will provide more efficient costs in the long run.
For the record, proof on P16 was Tampa Bay Times, September 6, 2018.
Okay, this is a public hearing. Would anybody like to speak on this item? If so, please come forward.
Seeing no one move approval?
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. P16 or
17.
17, yes, ma'am.
P17 was published in the Tampa Bay Times on September 6, 2018.
Item P17 is a resolution to increase the annual streetlight assessment and upgrade to LEDs for the Greenbrook Estate streetlight service area. Again, the increase is to recover a small annual loss that was discovered during audit, and at the request of the community, conversion to LED lighting.
Okay, this is a public hearing. If anyone would like to speak on this item, please come forward.
Move approval.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. P18.
P18 was published in the Tampa Bay Times, September 6, 2018.
Item P18 is a board-initiated action for the addition of parcel lots to the Meadowwood Streetlight District. During an audit, it was revealed that 6 properties that are benefiting from the streetlight district have not been assessed. The current annual assessment is $68.24. With an LED upgrade, as well as the inclusion of the 6 currently unassessed properties, we would see a net reduction in the annual assessment to $44.
And Mike, dumb question, but these will be LED lights as well. It doesn't say that, but these will be LED lights.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, this is a public hearing. I do not have anyone signed up. If you'd like to speak on this item, please come forward. Seeing no one. Move approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. P19.
P19 was published in the Tampa Bay Times, August 17, 2018.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Asa Caldwell, Public Works. This is a Gulf Choice subdivision, PVAS number 3302. In March 2018, the property owners had initiated this project. It failed petition, and here are the results from March. There were 277 possible votes, 164 or 59% responded to the petition, 72 or 44% voted in favor of the project, 92 or 56% voted against the project, and it failed. In April 24, 2018, the BCC directed Public Works Department to prepare a board-initiated assessment project. There are 22 roads or streets in this project. The total cost of the project is $1.489 million. The maximum cost per ERU is $5,516. The discounted amount is $303,102. And the maximum cost per ERU after the discount is $4,387. Annual installation is over a 10-year period, and the interest rate is 4.25%. This is a Gulf Trace area, and just a few photographs show the conditions of the road. This is Chatworth Court, Vauxhall Court, Glenwood Circle, Somervale Drive, and Bruntwood Court. Another photograph, and this is the final photograph. Staff is recommending approval.
Any questions for Ainsley before we go to public comment? Or do you want to wait till after public comment?
Yeah, I'll wait till.
Okay. This is a public hearing. I do have some folks signed up, so if you'd like to speak on item P19, please come forward. And give us your name and address for the record, and if you've been sworn, please.
They don't have to be sworn.
Oh, never mind, you don't have to be. Okay, sorry, you're good.
But just name and address for the record, please.
I'm Ralph Duval, 3517 Chatsworth Court in Gulf Trace. And as your project manager just stated, several months ago, you sent out a ballot asking us to vote as to whether or not we would like to participate in a $4,300 expenditure over a period of 10 years for the resurfacing of the streets in the Gulf Trace subdivision. This would represent a tremendous burden on most of us. Most of us are on Social Security or trying to raise young families. $4,300 over a period of 10 years represents about a 25% increase in our tax bill every single year. And we are wondering why perhaps the county can't apply for some federal assistance or some county assistance, state assistance, or even the penny for Pasco in order to help pay for this project and ease the burden on the people that live there. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Excuse me. My name is Richard Emmons. I live at 2809 Bramble Ridge Court, Holiday, Florida, 34691. I'm in the middle of that. And a couple things. First off, the ballots that you sent out to sign, it was you either approved it or you didn't approve it. Well, we have a lot of transients. We got, snowbirds. People don't read their mail. They think it's junk mail. And it seems like arbitrarily, the ones that didn't vote got counted as affirmatives. Now, I assume, no? No, is that not the case?
It's only the respondents.
Only the
votes
respondents.
count.
So the motion failed.
And are you in favor of paving?
No, ma'am. I'm just saying, I thought I read in the paperwork that if you didn't reply, then it was going to be considered affirmative.
No.
No?
Nope.
Not in the paperwork. Okay. So the motion failed. So why are we continuing this if the motion failed? You asked our opinion, we voted, it came back negative, and now you're moving on with it. I mean, you're all elected officials. I mean, how would you like it if you win an election and then they decide, oh no, we're going to recount, we're going to redo it, or we're going to just not acknowledge that you won.
Well, no, we haven't voted yet, sir. So.
Okay, well, I'm just, sir, okay.
There's a process.
Okay,
There's a legal process you're going through.
Yeah, all right. But I'm just saying that the other thing is, I'm not saying that we don't have holes in some of our roads. Now, it seemed like we had like 10 holes, and it's like over $1 million for 10 holes. But I mentioned just a suggestion that to the HOA, because the HOA has got problems with foreclosures and stuff like this and houses getting run down. And I said, why don't you just put a mechanics, do the work, fix it, because the gentleman's right. We have a lot of seniors in our subdivision. And some of them can't fix up their house, let alone the street. And I was thinking, you put a mechanics lien, elderly sell houses, die, whatever, they, house. At that point, the county could recover their expense through that process. So you're not really penalizing or hurting any of the seniors in our subdivision.
We'll make comments after
Thank you.
everyone's done. Thank you.
Appreciate your time.
Hi, I'm Diane Diamantopoulos,
You
392.
can lower that mic if it's better for you. Just push it down.
Take
There you
the
go.
end.
Thank you. It won't stay down.
It's been this part right here.
Spend
Sorry.
it.
Been that.
I can't see very well, so just.
You got it.
Here?
Somebody help
That's
her.
good.
bend it down.
Okay.
She's got it.
Got it?
More. Yeah.
There you go.
Okay.
That's good.
Diane Diamantopoulos, 3924 Pasco Court, Holiday, 34691. I've done a little bit of research on the question of the Gulf Trace subdivision road paving proposed project, and these are my views. Infrastructure is a public guarantee of a system of roads, bridges, tunnels, sewers, electrical grids, telecommunications, etc., that enables essential services to enable, sustain, and enhance social living conditions in the USA. U.S. citizens pay taxes to the federal government or fund our national security, the military, education, defense, infrastructure, etc. This vital infrastructure is funded by federal taxes and fees dedicated to the design, construction, repair, and maintenance, and additional funds are collected from from other means, including gas and sales tax, plus driver's license, registration, and certain excise taxes. About a year and a half ago, Gulf Trace subdivision went through a long, time-consuming process to have our roads paved with black composite asphalt paid for by the county. While this was being done, I spoke with the county workers who were doing work in my area. In essence, they told me the paving project was going to end our street problems and make our roads beautiful, and to just please be patient. And we were, and they are beautiful. However, at the September 10th workshop meeting, I believe I heard the speaker to say that only parts of Gulf Trace were paved, including Windridge and its cul-de-sacs where I live, but that a resident or the HOA had requested that their roads needed to be paved or repaved. If this is true, then why must our streets and cul-de-sacs be done over again if they're not necessary? Moreover, why doesn't the county pay for the newly requested streets that the HOA claims are cracking? It seems to me that the county has a responsibility to correct the problem of their own workmanship. Therefore, if about half of Gulf Trace subdivision was paved correctly before and paid for by the county, it is totally unfair for those residents to now pay for a second road paving. And it is totally unfair to ask the other half of the residents to pay for the corrections of their road paving, and that those corrective measures should be paid for by the county. In other words, why should we bring in private bidding contractors to correct the workmanship of the county workers? As a matter of fact, this commission is asking the HOA residents to pay a large sum or installments that are 3 times or more the annual amount of their HOA fees.
Okay,
Either way.
your time's up, ma'am. Sorry, if you could wrap it up real quick.
I will. I'm almost finished. I'm sorry.
Trying to be
I did
polite.
it. I can't see very
If you
well.
could wrap
so-
it up, please.
Can't do that, can't do that.
No, we can't. We can't.
So
ma'am.
I again say, please have the county use its own workers to use its own funds to pave or repave our streets and cul-de-sacs. And if the county doesn't have the funds, ask them to request monies needed from the state and the federal government agencies dedicated to pay for our.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Yeah, and I thank you, and I hope you come to the right decision. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am.
If you need a copy of this, I'll give it to you.
Good afternoon, sir.
My name is Eleftherios Koutoulas. I'm living 3919 Pasco Court, Holiday, Florida, 34691. I'm a senior, I'm on a budget, and I can afford it to pay $7,000 to $8,000 out of my pocket. Why should I go get money for the state, for the government, someplace else? With the seniors, I'm on a budget with $2,000 a month. You don't ask me, and I vote no, and now you bring me over again. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon. My name is Dave Gerbel. I live at 3150 Sand Hill Drive. I had a question. I understand raising taxes to provide essentials for living, roads and whatever. I had never heard of this method of paying for road repairs. Has this happened before in other neighborhoods?
We do it almost every board meeting.
I see. So, my second thing is I wonder about the legality of taking out a loan in my name and putting a lien on my house for a loan that I really didn't agree with. So you've done this before too?
This is a special assessment process. It's not a loan.
Interesting. I understand raising taxes, and that's, I think, where it belongs. Making people pay for their own roads without using tax money is unheard of in other cities and counties. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Seislander?
Yes, sir.
I know you might want to wait to the end, but maybe
Yeah, we'll go through
explain,
that.
we still have to vote, but explain the process and how this is not uncommon.
Sure. Let the speakers have their, and I'll.
Exactly, at the end, just that way people know what the process is, if there's confusion, because I can appreciate if people don't know that, so.
My name is Wayne Spitaleri. I live at 3111 Ivy Hill Court. I've lived in Gulf Trace for 16 years. The roads needed to be replaced 16 years ago. Here we are, 16 years later. You've got manholes that are 2.5 inches above the paved surface. You can see the dirt coming through the asphalt.
Yep.
I appreciate the fact that, people don't want to pay for the fix, but at a certain point, these roads are shot. It creates vehicle damage, they're a safety hazard. You have people driving on the opposite sides of the roads to avoid the holes, the manhole covers. It's a safety hazard. And I realize when you buy into a HOA or anything, this used to be a premier neighborhood, and these roads are gone. They've been gone for years, and it definitely needs to be done. And certainly I have a million places I could put $4,000, but this needs to be done. And if any of you have driven in that neighborhood, you will know. I drove from South Carolina back to my house. The only roads that were as bad is when I turned onto my neighborhood road. So that's something to be said. I'd appreciate you considering actually passing this and getting these roads fixed, because they definitely need to be done. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Hello, I'm Lloyd Ratliff. I live at 3020 Somervale Drive in Holiday. I'm from Wisconsin, so we have a pothole season in Wisconsin, so the roads to me aren't that bad. Certainly, they would look nicer if they were paved, but when I bought my house a year or so ago, I didn't not buy the house because there was a pothole or two. My basic complaint, I guess, whether it's going to be fixed or not, which I assume it will be fixed, is I think it's unfair for people that are not able to pay, have to pay over a 10-year period with interest. If they're too poor to pay up front, it seems a little unfair to make them pay more just because they can't pay up front. I'm not in that position, but I think there should be some provision where if you can show that you're not able to pay, it should be like a interest-free loan for the 10 years. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon. My name is Adele Glugler. I live at 4023 Ashley Court in Holiday, Florida, in the Gulf Trace subdivision. I've been here since 1992, and ever since then, they've been coming out and patching the potholes in my court. From what I understand is when Arthur Rutenberg was building this subdivision, the final surfacing of the roads was never done properly to start with. I mean, we've constantly called up about potholes in our court, and they've graciously come out and patched them. Plus, the past couple of years, we've had Sun Toyota doing their test drives, and they come into our court and turn around, and switch drivers and stuff. that's adding to the traffic in our court, Are you going to be assessing Sun Toyota for, using our roads? I understand that they're county roads and that, but I think they should also have to pay something. It needs to be done. The roads have been deteriorating since 1992. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, ma'am.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, this process is a special assessment process. It is historically, Pasco County has not used any property taxes on local subdivision roads. The state nor the federal government has any funding programs for local subdivision roads. In fact, you're having a hard time getting the state or feds to help you with the state road system, which a lot of times your impact fee and capital improvement dollars go on. Penny for Pasco was mentioned. Again, that's that penny is for capital improvements. It's not for maintenance. Your gas tax is also attributed to the collector and arterial system for the county, which leaves these local roads basically to the process of using the special assessment process, which is recognized under Florida law and is used by many other jurisdictions to provide special benefits to the property owners within a subdivision or not necessarily in a subdivision. This is back before you because even though it failed on petition, it was brought back as a board initiated, which is allowable under your ordinance. The board voted to move this forward. I'm not sure, Mr. Caldwell will have to answer whether or not this was one of the ones that was initially funded with BP money, and so that's why it came back as board initiated. There is a process for hardship if the residents qualify through community development, but I don't know that whether or not the residents of this neighborhood would qualify for that program, but there is a hardship program that is operated through the Community Development Division or Department.
Mr. Snyder, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Moore.
So do we know, is there anybody here that can explain that in more detail? I know we have in the past, but what the income requirements are for that?
Getting ready to.
Do you know that answer?
Yes, that's the SHIP program, SHIP program, and a flyer was set out in all the letters that were sent to the residents. I have copies back here. I can go over it again.
So what's the income requirement?
I think 26,000. I'll have to get it to get the details.
Oh, so 26,000 and less?
Right.
Okay, so for example.
And it's also dependent on the number of households.
Right, so the gentleman that said he only
Number of
makes
people in the
2,000,
Also.
he only has 2,000 a month in Social Security, whatever, he would qualify.
I can't say, but you would have to talk to the folks that that run the program. Sorry.
Okay, you said 26,000.
Right, but there are other criteria.
Okay.
Can you answer if this was one of the ones that we paved with the BP money?
One road in the subdivision was done single chip seal as a temporary fix.
So if you guys weren't here when that happened, but the roads were in such bad shape that when they got a lot of water, they disintegrated. And so we picked, I think, 10? But how many did we do?
Within this subdivision, it was only one, but there
Okay,
were a
but how
number.
many total did we do with the BP money?
Well, the full projects that were done with BP money were about 6 or 7. But in
So
terms
we
of
picked the worst roads in the county to use, to do a temporary fix with the BP money. So that shows you the degradation of the roads in this subdivision.
there was only one that was done
Right.
with a single chip. Right.
So they mentioned that these roads, some of these roads were repaved before. Is that what they meant?
That's the only thing I know. It's the single chip.
Okay, so
There-
single
there's
chip
no
is a
repaving.
temporary cover so that the roads can be drivable.
Yes.
Okay. Ainsley, I'm noticing here it's 10 years, and normally we don't do it for the length of 10 years, do we?
Typically 10 years.
Oh, are they? I don't know why I was thinking it was 4.
No.
So 10 years.
It's
okay.
5 years if the assessment is under $1,000.
And of the no votes, do we know if those were rentals or were they all homeowners?
It's a little bit difficult to say, but I pulled the numbers for homesteaded properties, and there were 216 homesteaded properties, and 60 were not homesteaded.
Do we know what about the ones that voted no?
No,
Were
I
they
didn't go into
homesteaded?
that. I didn't go into that level of analysis.
Okay, well, we like to know that.
Okay.
So this is a more difficult one because in the past they had voted no, but what's the history of bringing it back? What, do you remember? I don't remember.
It failed in March, and the board directed us on the 24th of April to bring it back. And then we had a workshop last week, and we're here for the board to make a decision.
Right, so I'm looking at the pictures. I've driven through there. 2 years ago, I was out there at an HOA meeting, and I thought the roads were in bad shape then. I personally tend to agree to repave these because your road's going to deteriorate further and more quickly than you've seen in the past, because I can see from the pictures that your sand is coming up through your asphalt. So whatever road that is, that one in a couple more storms, and that's going to be a pot of mush. So I'm inclined to go ahead and fix these roads. They're out there by the, on the west side of 19, and I don't know, it's just so costly to keep going back and trying to fix these when they obviously need to be fixed. I'm wondering about the interest rate, though. In the past, I think we have lowered that interest rate. Was there anything we can do on that interest rate?
It's the board's decision.
So since this is a board-initiated project, I'd like the board to consider lowering that interest rate to, I think we have some that are at 3.75.
We have 3, and it's the board's decision.
Well, I'd like to consider lowering that down to 3.75, because we're doing a whole neighborhood, and I think that could help the residents, especially since this is a board-initiated project.
What's the interest rate now?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, just a little more discussion. Kathy Pearson's here. She's very familiar with the SHIP program. Kathy, can you talk about what these income numbers are?
I'm sorry, Commissioner, I do not have those with me right now, but I will tell you it's based on household. So if you have,
Maybe we can get it from the residents and they can read it, because this
Or
is...
give it to Kathy, and Kathy, if you don't mind, can read it here. And I will talk to Sun Toyota. They should not be driving through your neighborhood. And I will make sure they stay on the collector and arterial roads, which are roads like Gulf Trace Boulevard and Little Road, some of those roads that are out in your area.
Kathy Pearson, Assistant County Administrator, Public Services. So based on the household, one-person household, program is available to homeowners under 50% of the median income for the Tampa Bay area. So that equates to one-person household of $20,650, two-person household, $23,600, three-person household, $26,550, four-person household, $29,500, and so on.
Right, and there's one more thing I wanted to let some of our residents know who spoke, because I know in some states they do it differently. This is pretty much how they do it in Florida, though some counties use ad valorem to fix the roads. There is a line that where we could collect money called road and bridges, but we don't do that in Pasco County. We don't tax you to fix the local roads. So you don't pay to fix another neighborhood's failing roads. You're only responsible for your own failing roads, just so you know that.
Mr. Chairman, when I look at this number and I look at the neighborhood, when you see the pictures, I struggle with why the number is so high. I mean, frankly, when I look at a neighborhood like this, I'm thinking the number should be at least close to half of what this number is. Why is the number so high?
We are using numbers that are on the current bid. Also, we're doing full depth reclamation because the base is shot. The base of the road is in bad condition.
So the full depth reclamation, maybe, I don't know if you have described it to the people, but go ahead and just give us a description.
Because of the water table being high and also the intrusion of the water into the lime rock, it becomes mushy, doesn't support the weight. And with the storms we had in 2015, you'll just have a continuing degradation of the base. Full depth reclamation is basically adding cement into the lime rock, so you get a less a more impervious surface. In other words, the upwelling of the water doesn't go and make the lime rock, mushy and doesn't support the asphalt on top.
So it's a very, very solid, long-lasting road, and in the rains, when the garbage trucks come through, they won't tear up your roads like they did in the past, so. Okay.
Let me just go a little further if I could. I mean, I just, with this neighborhood, I just want to do what we can is there any way we can lower down? And full depth is something that's going to last a lot longer than normal. And were there any drainage improvements done in the area that needed to be done or could be done?
Well, all projects, we look into existing drainage. If there are collapsed culverts, ditches, all that sort of thing is done prior to paving.
All right, so is that included in here? And if so, how does that cost?
No, because it's an existing county maintained road, that is not picked up in the project. We would have to do that maintenance regardless, whether or not the road is being paved. So it's not included, it's not an additional cost in the project.
All right, but is there a cost associated with the stormwater into this project, is the question?
Yes, sir. But
Okay,
it is not
so what's gonna be-
specific, it's not specific to the project. In other words, if we had to replace one culvert and there was no paving project, Public Works would have picked up that cost as a part of the maintenance.
So if
whatever storm.
So if the commissioner is asking whether or not it's part of the ERU value that is being assessed to the residents, the answer is no.
No.
The answer that what Ansley is trying to answer you is there is a cost, and that cost would be picked up by stormwater as routine maintenance to the neighborhood.
Okay, so in that we're going to do a paving assessment, and one of the things our new policy is to actually go out and actually look at the stormwater needs that are out there, like we just did at Holiday Hill,
Right.
our Country Club Estates. Has that been done here yet?
The project has not been approved as yet. Usually when the project is approved, we would now give the stormwater folks to go ahead to do the assessment.
All right, when we did Country Club Estates, we actually looked at the stormwater ahead of time and put that into the cost, what it was going to be.
To follow up, if
It's different
if
than
there
what you're
are,
telling
yeah.
me.
So this cost is just for full depth reclamation.
Right. And
Divided
the
by the number of
repaving.
ERUs. If there are stormwater improvements that you can do to help keep water off the streets, that they will bear no cost of that along with this project.
That is
We will
correct.
eat those costs
That
in
is
this
correct.
case.
Okay, but it's not a question of even just eating the cost. I don't want to do it unless we know we've done all the stormwater stuff
Yeah, I
to
don't
it.
think we have those kind of issues.
They do that
Commissioner.
when they start the project.
What's that?
They do that when they start the project.
Prior to starting the project.
Yeah,
So say, for example, the board approves a project today. What we do is notify our stormwater folks. They would go out, do an assessment in terms of any ditches that need to be cleared, any culverts that need to be replaced, any lining, that need to be installed, and that would be done prior to the actual paving.
And no cost is to the citizens that are there for the paving. That's not added to it.
Dan, did you want to add to that?
Commissioner, from the photos, you can see there's actually stormwater infrastructure in the subdivision itself. Some of these that we've gone out in the past, there has been no stormwater infrastructure. It's just been asphalt and then grass and ditch next to it. This one actually has stormwater infrastructure. So my guess is if there are stormwater issues, it's just because we have some flat spots in the road that have developed over time, not a significant systematic issue in the neighborhood. Now, there may be a bigger issue with major storms, but those aren't the ones that cause the major issue, and it looks like the infrastructure is in place here.
All right, so, and I know it's close to the Gulf, et cetera, so the area. Let me make a recommendation, and Commissioner Starkey, I like your idea of lowering the interest rate down. you want to take it further, none, I'm willing to consider that, but I also think we should, because of its full depth of reclamation, because of the high cost it's in for these people, I think we should look at taking it instead of 10 years out to 15 years as well. I mean, the road's going to last a lot longer anyway.
I don't have, Mr. Chairman, just response. What is it per ERU again?
4,000, after discount, it's $4,387.
86.
Maximum.
Okay.
So it's $438
A year.
a year.
Plus interest.
Not a year.
For 10 years.
Yeah, over the
No,
10-year
it's
period.
not 4,000.
No,
Hold on, let me finish.
$438 a year times
Yeah,
10.
you said, somebody said 4,000. I go, my gosh.
No, $438 for 10 years,
For each ERU.
for each ERU.
Yes.
Yes?
You get interest in that.
Plus interest.
Yes.
So, what I was trying to, hold on, guys, you can't talk from the audience. You can't talk from the audience. You can't talk from the audience. Sir?
Sir,
No.
sir, we've
So-
already had public comment, sir. I'm
Sir.
assuming you've addressed it because he has 2 ARUs, I'm assuming?
I'll have to look at it. But the
So-
cost
Make
per
sure Ames
ERU
looks
is
at that.
$4,000.
So, I'll keep going for a second. Give me that number one more time. 4,000.
$4,387.
387.
Yes.
So you're talking about going to 15, Commissioner? Okay. Okay. That'd be 290 a year, 292
Plus your interest.
nominal at that rate.
So I just want you to know, that means we're taking money out of fixing another road when you do that, because we use the money that you pay in to fix someone else's road. So we have like this rolling account. And someone asked why we're not doing mechanical liens. Well, we have millions of dollars out there that we can't collect using that kind of system. So we switched to this system because now we get paid. We don't have to wait till someone sells their property, because that is the money we're using to fix your road. So it keeps us having this kitty that we can put out to work. So if we take this money out of that kitty, then it's just less roads we can do every year. So,
Lindsay, let me just ask you a quick question.
Yes, sir.
And I know there's several of the neighborhoods we approved forced paving assessments for, their roads flooded, high tide, it would back up and flood these roads. I don't think that's the case in these roads. The water table, it is the case, so the roads do
Water table
flood.
is high, sir.
Okay. But I don't know that the roads flood like when we're looking at out.
No.
But I mean, what's the difference in cost if we do the full depth reclamation or just regular paving? How much more economical is it? And I'm not saying you could do it here, but.
It's not a question of being economical. It's the best value, the best
Okay, I'm just
practice.
asking a question. I mean, it's about the same price then, you're saying?
Oh, no.
Okay. Well, if you had to 25% less?
It would be about, I don't want
How
to
many
guess.
years, how many years is, give me the lifespan of one compared to the other, so full depth rep is how many years?
The full depth can run you 25, 30 years. It depends on what goes on with, if it's just without the full depth, depends on what's happening with the water table. It's a little bit hard to do a comparison.
Commissioner, the strength of your road is in your base, and if your base is soft because it's wet or whatever, your asphalt doesn't have any inherent strength in it. It relies on that base, and so when you do cement and treat it, you actually end up with a stronger base, especially when you have high water tables that are going to impact that base. And so you're probably really talking a 25-year solution versus something that's in the 5 or 10-year range.
And we did core samples out there to show the.
Yes.
You can see it from the
you
photos.
can see it from the photos,
You
and
can see
the
it from
sand
the
is coming through the concrete, the
I mean,
asphalt.
on decubulus, we see the same thing, but
Right.
the water, we're not using full depth rec there. That's why I'm just asking the question. So,
So I'm going to make the motion that we approve this project at, let's go for 12 years at 3.75% interest. Do Do I have a second?
I was more comfortable with the motion, well, he didn't make a motion, but what.
For 15 years?
I was more comfortable with what Commissioner Mariano.
All right, well, let's go for 15 years at 3.75.
Would you consider 3.25?
No, because we got other roads that need to
We-
be
but we've
paved,
done
and you're draining the
3.25.
kitty.
Have we done 3.25 in the past?
I think we have done.
We have.
This is not that kind of neighborhood. I'm sorry, but sometimes when we drop it down, we're talking
I just want to be
Holiday Lake
consistent.
Estates and, you know,
But
some of those communities, and this is not,
you said we've done it before.
yeah, but on certain
Ansley?
types of communities.
Can I ask
This
you,
is, they got some people here that said they're, they have some, they're lower income and retired, so.
But they'll get the SHIP funds.
Not all of them.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask
Yes.
Ansley a question?
Yeah, let Jeff speak, please.
So is the 4.25 1% above prime?
No, it's prime.
That's prime.
As of October last year, which is set annually.
Okay. So the ones that were at 3.25, we had actually dropped to prime at that time. So prime has gone up over the last couple of years, and so anything you adjust from 4.25 is really hurting you.
Mr. Chairman, if you look at the amount of interest rate we collect on the funds we have, I think we still get probably less than 1%, maybe we're up over 1% now. These people are going to be paying it back to us. You've got other loans that are out there at 3.25. You've got some that were done many years ago that were even a lot higher when the rates were higher. I don't know when this came in, so the change had to happen recently, because I know interest rates are going better in the banks now. But I think we should just make it a policy from this point, so we don't get in this discussion. Let's just keep that rate at 3.25. It's still more money than we make if we have money in reserves anyway. So I'd support, if you want to go 15 years in the 3.25.
Well, I didn't get a second, so I guess I'm going lower. Okay, so 15 years at 3.25.
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Will you talk to the gentleman, anyone who has more than one ERU, and explain to them how that works and if they want to
Can you
downsize?
double check that? Because I just went through your rolls.
Yeah, I
and
didn't see it.
anybody over 1 ERU.
Yeah, I
May
didn't
have
find that
two
either.
Properties. There are cases.
Well, if they own 2 properties,
That's different,
that's still
yeah.
a single ERU each. But I just went through your rolls while we were sitting here, and I didn't see anybody
I
over
didn't
1.
see it either.
Please get with the gentleman right behind you.
Sure.
I may have missed one because there's a lot of them.
Thank you.
but-
Thank you.
Okay, anything else to come before the board?
Mr. Chairman?
Commissioner Mariano?
Don't you have 20?
A few years back, we had I want to go back to a couple of committee items I should have brought up earlier, so I thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
A couple of years back, we had a couple of times we were looking at different ordinances as far as nitrogen release into the Gulf and all. And Pinellas and Hillsborough were looking at ordinances. They actually passed one.
Yep.
We didn't put the blackout period in, so I'd like staff to bring back to us an ordinance where we do put the blackout period like Pinellas and Hillsborough did, and so we can look at it. It'll be better for my environment, better for the release into the waters. And being that we had trouble with it because it was a new ordinance and we didn't know how to actually structure it, I think it's been established now. There hasn't been a lot of kickback, and I think we should be environmentally responsible. It's not a big deal for us to go do it.
So are you looking for, just so that we bring back the right version, you looking for one that bans application during the summer months, or are you looking for one that bans the sale of, which I think Pinellas is the sale of?
Okay.
I'm not familiar with Tampa or Hillsborough. I don't.
I think it'd be sale, but I think the
Or do you want
application
us
too,
to
because I don't
just-
want a private company coming in and just doing it to put it in there either.
Well, commercial applicators are normally exempted.
Okay.
But
Why don't you-
if you want us to look at the Hillsborough and Pinellas models and bring you back
A recommendation,
what they
that would be
are,
great.
that we can do that too.
Okay, awesome. And I just have one other item. Back, I think probably last month, we talked about some developments that were going on in the Hudson area. We had Frank Feckety came forward, built Boatyard. We had kind of redid the platting of the property, so we could actually have some building going out there. One house is going to be built, another one may be built, and they wanted to put the seawall up to match the local neighbor. Now, I've done a lot of time driving around here since that point in time, and I think that everybody should be able to go up to at least the highest seawall that's out there already into that area, obviously subject to the permitting. I talked with FEMA, a couple of representatives, all the way to DC, all the way down. They agreed that they didn't see a problem with keeping a higher seawall. It just keeps water from coming into the land, it keeps property coming to the house. Staff, I think, is confused about it, and I say staff with the people who are doing the permitting, because they just wanted to keep it low, low. But FEMA doesn't care. Exactly, it doesn't make any sense. FEMA didn't care as long as you weren't affecting the base flood elevation, though they didn't want you to go near it necessarily, but they didn't mind having a high seawall. They thought it actually made sense as well. I even had an engineer, we had the firm maps at Hudson Library, he agreed. I'm very happy to say that our building official, Esther, was actually out talking with some FEMA reps, and she is now under the same understanding I am. Now, the difficulty with permitting under Don and Esther is it's not right under Esther's control as far as how high the seawall can be. So I'd like Don and Esther kind of work together, go put a stakeholder committee, and we've got a few people who we've talked about, and staff, even both sides of staff agree that we should go do that. So give them some flexibility, let them come back to us, and kind of put something together as far as how we can make our community safer and smarter as they're building forward. With that said, there's one other thought as well. Right now, we put the fill ordinance in place, and it was designed to be if someone's in the bottom of a basin that we didn't fill them in, so they flooded out their neighborhood. I don't think it should really apply to the seawalls here, so if staff would bring that back to us, because if you got to fill in dirt from a seawall and raise up your land to match the neighbor, it's really just the right thing to do anyway.
Well, let me play devil's advocate on that, because we had this problem out in Gulf Harbors. We had someone who elevated their height of their seawall, and the neighbor, one of the neighbors was lower, and they were very concerned that they were going to now have a flooded yard. So, you know, you gotta, you can't be higher than your, there's got to be some way to resolve that. You can't be higher than your neighbor.
Can't flood your neighbor.
Right?
You can't flood your neighbor.
Can't flood your neighbor.
And you know, for that one situation, I did go down there as well. And that situation, he did go higher than the rest of them. But at least you should be able to match whatever the highest one is around you, because you want them to be as high as they can be anyway. And I don't think it really actually affects the neighbor itself in this situation, but at least let them go look at it to raising that level to where you can match. Because right now, we had one neighbor that they wanted to go next to. They wanted to be a foot lower than the other guy. That didn't make any sense. That's what kind of started this whole thing.
You just can't flood your neighbor. However you accomplish that, you just can't flood your neighbor.
And again, if water from the Gulf's coming in, where the one guy's actually higher than that water's going to spread everywhere anyway. But I do see your point as far as not going crazy. Otherwise, I'd have put the word automatic in there.
Commissioner Oakley?
Does our building department set the height of a seawall? Because to me, it seems like that's a core job if it's on the waterway.
Don Rosendahl, Assistant County Administrative Development Services. We work with the core requirements, not the core, but FEMA requirements, and we help set those. We have some concern as to whether or not we should be in certain elements of that business, and that's one of the things that we're going to be looking at.
Yeah. Well, I would be concerned because I was thinking the Corps had rule over like seawalls, so.
And Mr. Chair? And I was, you know, when I heard about the FEMA requirements, being the federal agency was actually dealing with the flooding, what they'd want to see or not, it didn't make sense to me why to build a seawall low when you can build it high, not going to affect anybody. Okay, so, I mean, you get the point. So as long as we look at it, and again, I even had an engineer that was there from NFIP, brought him over to kind of look at the issue as well, and he goes, as long as you don't do what some of the people in Miami did, where they tried to put like a 15-high-foot seawall in there sometimes, you know, nothing like we saw down in Gulf Harbors, but as long as it's a reasonable number, if you're not affecting the base flood elevation, they don't have a problem with it. And if you think about it, it actually makes it safer. If everybody's up to that higher level, that's everybody in the neighborhood, everybody's house is a little bit safer and doesn't affect anybody.
So you're
That's
not
why
talking
I
about-
want
you're
them to
not
go look
talking
at
about
it.
Bringing the fill that high on the property, you're
No,
just
but
talking about
yes,
seawall.
because if you build a higher seawall, you got to backfill it, and that's what created the problem in Gulf Harbors. Todd built his seawall then he had to backfill it, and then he was higher than the lady on the corner, and then she got very concerned that the water was gonna come in and blow out her seawall. So there's a way, I'm sure they can figure
Yeah,
out.
I'm fine with you guys looking at it, Is that what, do you agree, Esther?
So Esther, you just talked to some FEMA people about the seawall issue?
Yes, I talked to FEMA. We arranged a meeting with FEMA, and I talked with FEMA with my crew, and FEMA didn't have any issue with the height, as long as it's not the same as the BFE.
The what?
The BFE,
Base flood elevation.
Flood elevation. Gotcha. Yeah, but they talked about the negative impact to the neighbors, that they have to be able to give us an analysis that is not impacting their neighbors negatively. Yeah. And secondly, any stem or seawall that is above 6 feet has to be engineered, which right now we don't do.
Yep.
Well, good. I'm
We don't
glad you're
issue
finding
permits
out
for that.
what has to happen.
So Commissioners, we have to work with the county attorney's office and with the, and come back for the board and bring those requirements in a way that they meet the requirements of FEMA.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Okay, anything else? With that, we're adjourned till 6:30.
Yeah, it is time. 6:30.
I would like to call to order the second public hearing of September 17th at 6:30 PM. And I do have a sign-up sheet for those citizens who wish to speak on the budget during the public comment portion of the public hearing that have not signed up on the sheet. Please just line up behind this gentleman that is signed up. This is the final public hearing to be adopted on fiscal year 2019 budget. Does the clerk's office have proof of publication?
Yes, the proof of publication was published in the Tampa Bay Times on Thursday, September 13th,
Okay, in
2018, sorry.
Okay, thank you. In accordance with state statutes, the first issue to be discussed is the recommended millage rates and the percentage changes from the rollback rates. Mr. Gorig, would you please provide that information?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The aggregate millage rate for fiscal year 2019, as advertised in the trim notices, was 9.2967 mils, which represents a 1.31% increase from the 2018 aggregate rolled back millage rate of 9.1766 mils. Since the total taxable value increased between 2018 and 19, which generated additional revenue levied for the same millage rate, the 2019 aggregate millage is greater than the 2019 aggregate millage is greater than the 2018 aggregate millage, even though the millage rates have not changed between 2018 and 2019. At this time, I'd like to ask the board and members of the audience to refer to Table 1 in your handout, which shows the 2018 and 19 millage rates for the three county levies: General Fund, Transportation Fund, and the Municipal Fire Services Unit. The table also provides a comparison of the 2019 millage rates to the rolled back rates and the 2018 millage rates. Rather than read this chart into the record, we have provided copies to each commissioner, board records, and members of the audience. At the first public hearing of fiscal year 2019 budget, the Board of County Commissioners adopted a budget based upon the millage rates used in the trim notices each property owner received. Those rates are shown in column F.
Mr. Goering, will you give a brief summary of the General Fund and Transportation Trust Fund budgets, stating the final millage rates, the percentage change from the rollback rates, and the reasons for such change?
Yes, sir. The general fund is a countywide in nature, such that all property owners with a net taxable value pay ad valorem taxes to this fund. For fiscal year 2019, the millage rate for the general fund is 7.6076 mils. This represents a 2.79% increase from the rolled back rate of 7.4585 mils. This morning, the County Commission received a presentation outlining the amendments to the tentative fiscal year 2019 budget. These changes will have no effect on the approved final operating millage rate of 7.6076 mils. The county realized a 9.51% increase in taxable assessed values over the past year. Compared to the current fiscal year, the final general fund expenditure budget represents an increase of $22.5 million. The main factors for this increase include fully funding of the sheriff and other constitutionals, a 4% wage increase for board and constitutional officer employees, $5.4 million for business plan initiatives, and $6.4 million for infrastructure improvements. Prior action by the Florida legislature eliminated the requirement for a mandatory transportation ad valorem tax. No transportation millage was levied for fiscal year 18, and we propose no millage be assessed for the transportation fund for capital transportation needs during fiscal year 2019, since revenue from this fund comes from the second local option gas tax and the tax increment financing fund.
Thank you. It is now time to accept comments from the public on the general fund and the transportation trust fund budgets and associated millage rates. Individuals will be provided 3 minutes to speak, and one representative from an organization or group will be provided 5 minutes to speak. Time limits will be strictly adhered to. Please limit your comments at this time to discuss the general fund and transportation trust fund. We will be calling upon people to speak based upon their sign-in sheet. If you wish to speak but not have signed up, you'll be given an opportunity to speak after those who have signed up have spoken. I do just have one person signed up. Looks like John Milner. Is that correct?
Correct.
If you'd like to come forward. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Commissioners. Thank you for your time. My name is John Milner. I live in District Number 4 at 3452 Trophy Boulevard, Newport Richey, Florida, 34655. Last year, I paid on a property $503 in taxes. This year, it's proposed that I pay $613. That's a 22% increase. I have analyzed the proposed property taxes from the property appraiser, and it looks like the big increase is in the local school board tax, where last year I paid $46, and this year I will pay $101, which is an increase of 120%. I have two simple questions, and maybe my district commissioner, Michael Wells Jr., can answer them for me. Question number one, did the school board raise their taxes to make up for the state decrease in funding? And number two, can the county commission overrule the local school board?
County commission cannot, I'll start with that question first. County commission cannot overrule the school board.
Okay.
The school board's public hearing, I believe, is tomorrow night.
Okay.
To adopt their millage. I don't, without doing an analysis of your bill, I'm not sure, but if you're correct and your millage they are proposing an increase of their millage, that is their ability to do. I'm not sure why they're doing it, but those questions would be better posed to the school board.
Okay, so I can ask that question tomorrow night.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very
Yes.
much.
No problem, John. Okay, would anybody up? Oh, good evening.
Good evening. I'm not going to pass up the opportunity. Mitchell Kobernick, 5001 South Shore. In reviewing the proposed budget and the millage rates, one thing that does jump out at me, which I just wanted to point out, is that on the line item permits, fees, and special assessments, that's being increased from $92 million to $121 million, which is a 32% increase. This is the category that includes MSBUs. MSBUs are a topic that's very near and dear to my heart. I have issues with some of the MSBUs that the county has been passing because MSBUs are regressive taxes. They are not based on the value of the house. They are assessed equally to all houses in a particular district that are supposed to especially benefit by the imposition of the MSBU. Some districts may have very low value houses along with high value houses, and each one of those taxpayers is assessed exactly the same when an MSBU is passed, as opposed to paying it out of general funds or affecting the millage rate of the county. So this 32% increase, now this is not all MSBUs because it includes permits, fees, and special assessments. So I don't know how it's broken out, but this category does include MSBUs, and this is a very big increase. And All I wanted to do was point out that this huge increase does not affect the millage rates, but it disproportionately affects low-income homeowners. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak? Okay. Okay, public comment on the general fund and transportation trust fund budgets and millage rates has been received through discussion by the board. Is there a motion to?
Mr. Chairman, please continue with.
Is there a motion to adopt the final millage rate for fiscal year 2019 for the general fund of 7.6076 mills?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Is there a motion to adopt the final millage rate for fiscal year 2019 for the Transportation Trust Fund of 0.000 mills?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Mr. Goerig will now provide a summary of the Municipal Fire Service Unit budget, stating the final millage rate, the percentage change from the rollback rate, and the reasons for the change.
Thank you. The Municipal Fire Service Unit Fund has a tax levy of 1.8036 mills. This represents a 5.94% increase from the rollback rate of 1.7024 mills. The increase in property values results in approximately $3.8 million in additional property tax revenue for the MSTU. The total fund for fiscal year 2019 is $4.3 million higher than the current year. The increase is primarily attributable to a number of new proposals, such as adding 2 additional rescue units, an arson dog, a volunteer services chief, and wage increases for firefighters.
Okay, we will now receive public comment on the Municipal Fire Service Unit. Is there anyone here who would like to speak on this? Please come forward. Seeing no one, is there a motion to adopt a millage rate of 1.8036 mills for the Municipal Fire Service Unit?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Goerig will now provide a summary of the remainder of the fiscal year 2019 budget.
The budget for the fiscal year is comprised of 69 separate funds and totals $1,324,363,537 net of interfund transfers. If you refer to Table 2 in your handout, you will see the revenue sources and allocations identified by type without regard to individual funds as stated, prior to any action taken by the board tonight.
We will now receive public comment on the final fiscal year 2019 budget. If you'd like to speak on that, please come forward. At this time, I will entertain a motion to adopt the fiscal year 2019 budget as outlined by staff, including those adjustments made since the tentative public hearing presented to the County Commission at its regular meeting earlier today.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, the actions you have taken today have set the final aggregate millage rate at 9.2967 mills, which reflects an increase of 1.31% above the rollback rate.
I would now ask Mr. Goerig to read the resolution adopting the final levying of ad valorem taxes for fiscal year 2019.
By title only, a resolution of the Board of County Commissioners of Pasco County, Florida, adopting the final levy of ad valorem taxes for Pasco County for fiscal year 2019, providing for an effective date.
Is there a motion for approval of the resolution adopting the final levying of ad valorem taxes for Pasco County for fiscal year 2019?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. I would now ask Mr. Goerig to read the resolution adopting the final budget for fiscal year 2019.
Thank you. By title only, a resolution of the Board of County Commissioners of Pasco County, Florida, adopting the final budget for fiscal year 2019, providing for an effective date.
Is there a motion for approval of the resolution adopting the final budget for Pasco County for fiscal year 2019?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. This concludes the final public hearing for the fiscal year 2019 budget.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Beautiful. Good job.